my God!
The goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Cuts it up to the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible! Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I am your host, Ben Kruse. Hope you guys are having a great evening, a great weekend that you had this overall weekend. It was obviously really good weather out this weekend, at least in my area. So hopefully you guys had a really good chance to enjoy it and, go out and enjoy the great weather as we're now officially in the month of June. This has obviously been, at least so far, pretty solid 2024. And, I just can't wait to see where a lot of things ahead. We've had a lot of great stuff in sports, and we're pretty much coming at the end of the NBA season, the NHL season, as we have both matchups set in stone with the NBA Finals and now the Stanley Cup, which I'll talk about both in a little bit tonight on the program. Obviously, baseball is still in full-on swing. This really is a prime month where baseball is going to start to get some more headlines. April and May, obviously, it's kind of more the exciting, that it's kind of back and stuff. But really, in June, kind of moving forward after June, baseball's kind of really of the most sport that is kind of watched around, unless you're watching things like off-season stuff or, basketball and hockey and other stuff, which, of course, people do, including myself. But baseball really is something that I think a lot of people watch during the summertime, including myself. It's just awesome to watch for sure. And then, pretty much we also have this other stuff going on, college baseball, got college softball. So we got a ton of stuff for sure. Obviously, I'll talk some stuff in the football world because obviously football never sleeps, including the off season. So we'll talk a little football tonight, and we'll obviously talk a bunch with the finals. We'll talk about baseball and some other stuff. We'll also plan to have one of my co-hosts, Isaiah Leon, tonight on the program in a little while. We might have our other one in James. We don't know just yet about that. But regardless, tonight, hopefully you guys have had a great weekend, like I mentioned, and I hope you guys enjoy the show for tonight. Before we get started with the show for tonight, though, make sure to follow right here down the ticker below. Make sure to follow us on the IM6 MI6 Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I personally put a lot of these episodes of us on YouTube. My Facebook currently right now has a little bit of, technical difficulties going on, so just bear with me currently with that. But you can see a lot of it posted either on YouTube, and I'll try to post as much as I can on my Facebook as well. I know maybe on my Facebook, but more on my Twitter, which, like I said, I have it right down here, down below. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. And we will get started with the start of the NBA. And obviously, we currently now have the NBA Finals set in stone. Obviously, both teams specifically, one from the East, one from the West. I think a lot of people were pretty much kind of assuming who was going to be coming out of the East. but not a lot of people, I didn't think, assume who was coming out of the West. I think a lot of people had some ideas, and I think some people had a pretty good idea who it could have been. But the West, I feel, just to me, as an overall conference, has just a lot more talent and a lot more team specifically that can just go kind of back and forth. Not saying the East doesn't, because I do think that the East has a lot, for sure, and the Eastern Conference. But you look at the Western Conference of teams, and I kind of talked about this kind of before the playoffs started. You look at teams like Denver. You look at a team like Minnesota. You look at a team obviously in Dallas, right? Um, but there's just a ton of other teams. A team on the come up. OKC was a shit ton of draft capital coming up for sure. Um, Sacramento, right? Even Golden State. People think, well, is the dynasty in Golden State over yet? You just never know. Obviously when you have a team like Steph Curry, right? You look at the Lakers, you look at the Clippers, it's just the talent from top to bottom. However, one team essentially in the West stands up, and one team from the East stands up. And they essentially battle it out right to the end to determine who hosts that Larry O'Brien trophy in a couple weeks in this month of June. So the finals preview, which I'm talking about to start here on the show, which we haven't really talked much about so far. I decided to kind of wait it out until we found out who the matchup was going to be. And now tonight we're going to get through a lot of what the NBA Finals is going to be, which is going to be starting this week. So happy NBA Finals week to all who celebrate. As you all can tell, I'm a Boston Celtics fan. I think a lot of people at this point in time are aware of that, but if you're not aware of it, well, now you know. And the reason why I did mention that is because my Boston Celtics are representing the East in the NBA Finals. And now we'll pretty much now know at this point in time that we are facing the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves on Monday. I'm trying to remember the day that they won. It was either Thursday night in Game 5. Game 5, I'm pretty sure. Game 5. Game 6. Game 6. Yeah, they won game, pretty sure it was Game 5. I'm sorry. Game 5. 4-1. And, I thought specifically that Minnesota gave them a really, really tough overall series. But, I think a lot of people kind of underestimated the way that Dallas was this year. And, people didn't think that the Luka, Kyrie Irving duo would work out. Of course, we've been seeing Kyrie Irving teams in the past, and the overall distraction that, kind of is off the court kind of has brought to, the stuff onto the court. But ever since he came to Dallas, he's kind of changed a bit. And I think specifically, as a Celtics fan, I will talk about a little bit about Kyrie. But I think, obviously, I'm not going to forget him for what the stuff that he's done in the past to me and the Celtics fan base. But I never hated Kyrie Irving as an actual talent because the guy can flat out ball. And I think specifically this year, he has really turned kind of back the clock and kind of gone back to his really old Kyrie Irving days. Because we saw it a lot in this series and we've seen a lot in the playoffs. The reason why the Dallas Mavericks are where they are currently right now is the overall magic that we've seen from Luka, obviously, and now obviously with his teammate and Kyrie Irving. And of course, when you get to this overall point of the finals, you need to also have some other guys step up too. They had guys like PJ Washington, who they brought in. They got Daniel Gafford. They have Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr. They got a lot of pieces over there that can play. So I think a lot of people expected them to make a run at the playoffs, but I don't think a lot of people expected them to physically make the finals. But they proved a lot of people wrong. And I got to give them a lot of credit where credit's due. I mean, Minnesota, for example, last series, all right, they were the best defensive rating team, I'm pretty sure, in the league. And they won 5 games against them, including the closeout game, which pretty much was a domination from start to bottom for this Dallas team. So, and I'll talk about the actual matchup in a little bit, but they're coming in red hot against the Celtics team. And, I think a lot of people are going to pick the Celtics to win this overall series and to eventually move to host their 18th banner. But it's going to be a tough road. It really is going to be a tough road. And now, essentially, the path and journey for both teams, this is the finish line. And essentially, when you look at a race in the finish line, one team essentially will complete it and one team won't. One team is unfortunately going to have to come up short and essentially going to have to try to get back on that journey and try to rewrite it again for the next upcoming season, along with all the teams that are trying to do the exact same thing. So when you present this opportunity specifically, it's not just given to you. You got to earn it. You look at a certain team that I'm wearing on the shirt right here that I'm very proud of to be a fan of, and that's UConn Huskies. That's the UConn Huskies, a team specifically in which they've now won the last 2 men's national championships, hopefully on the chance to become the first team and forever to possibly three-peat for next season. We will see, but I bought this shirt because it runs true. It runs true to these days that the UConn Huskies do run college basketball, and I will mute the conversation after. Even though there's a great ton of college teams out there, and they have for many, many years, and I can talk about this off air with other people, at this current state right now, they run college basketball. So that's that. But, anyway, the reason being for Dallas and the journey for both teams between Dallas and the Celtics to get to the finish line is, the Celtics specifically, their overall path, I think a lot of people can make an argument that it was a little more on the easier, kind of fraudulent type where they played the first series they played was against the Miami Heat, obviously without Jimmy Butler. The second series was against the Cavs. Cavs, obviously, their defense wasn't great, but they lost one of the best perimeter defenders in that series in Jared Allen. And then Donovan Mitchell got hurt in the last 2 games of the series. And in Game 5, Karis LeVert was out and some other guys along with Mitchell and essentially a closeout game for the Celtics, and where they essentially blew the doors off with the Cleveland Cavaliers to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana. The Celtics essentially swept them. But all the 3 games, I'm take that back. 3 out of the 4 games that the Celtics had against the Pacers. And this is where, and I'm obviously going to talk kind of about the Celtics path first before I go to Dallas. Then I'll physically get to the preview and everything you guys want to listen to. But the Celtics overall path, and I'm going to essentially kind of retrack in terms of why I don't think personally that the Celtics path was easy as maybe people make it out to be. Number 1, Eastern Conference Finals, right? Playing against the Indiana Pacers, one of the best offensive net rating teams in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, I can understand, yet the Celtics are a better team, in which they are. They're a better team than Indiana is. I don't think that Indiana is a great defensive team. But you know what they did to the Celtics? They tested them. Even though they did not win 1 game. That's hard to do. When you have a team specifically that has tested you in the Eastern Conference Finals, but did not win 1 game, that means that the team that you face essentially out-executed you when it mattered most. And that's what the Celtics did. Look at game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pacers had a 3-point lead. They had the ball with around 8 seconds left. Rick Carlisle had 1 timeout. He didn't use it to advance the ball. It costed them. Andrew Nembhard, Tyrese Halliburton, a couple turnovers that even when the Celtics had 2 possessions where they went short on, which I think for a lot of people thought that it was over. And Indiana was about to take game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Boston after winning game 7, being down 3-2 against the Knicks, going to game 7 and winning at MSG, and then to go to game 1 at TD Garden and to almost do that to start the series. Talk about storybook and what it could have been. What the Celtics had other plans. Drew Holiday inbound the pass, ran the corner to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen makes a absolute acrobatic, phenomenal shot in the corner to tie the game. Celtics go to overtime, back and forth. Celtics win. Celtics up 1-0. Game 2. Back and forth for pretty much 3 quarters of the game. Celtics were up 15 points, about 5-6 minutes left of the fourth quarter. Tyrese Halliburton goes down, one of their main players. He had a non-contact injury, which are never good in sports. When you ever hear non-contact, just never think it's good. Pascal Siakam was fantastic. Fantastic in the series, but fantastic in that game. Pretty much the only reason why that the Pacers were in that game in game 2. However, you're down 14, 15 points. And I know Miles Turner in that game was having foul trouble. But Turner and Pascal are your 2 best players when it's not when it's not Tyrese Halliburton. And we've seen teams that have came back, from 10 to 15 points down with 5-6 minutes left. Rick Carlisle decided to use his bench players, Doug McDermott, Isaiah Jackson, guys essentially that don't play a lot, with around 5-10 minutes left in the game. They're only down by 10 points. That's doable. But I saw Miles Turner. He was on the bench. He only had 3 fouls. You would have thought he was in the game. And he was not. And I understand specifically, sometimes when you're in foul trouble, you have to maybe sit a little more extensively than some other guys. But you're down 1-0 in the series. You got to at least try. The worst comes to worst specifically is you got fouled out, and that's that. Your chances of winning that game were pretty slim already as was. But the coach essentially waved the white flag in a certain situation in that game where they could have made it interesting. So the game 1 specifically came down to Rick Carlisle and his timeout usage and the late game execution that Indiana had. Game 2, the Celtics essentially controlled a lot of the game, but the dumb decision that Carlisle had with around 7 minutes left of this game in game 2, where one of your guys had to go down because he was hurt. One of the guys essentially was in foul trouble with only 3 fouls, and Pascal was playing out of his mind. And I get specifically that guys get tired, and that's what Carlisle said after game 2 with Pascal. But, I don't know. That was questionable. Now I'll go to game 3. Celtics are up 2-0. There's still a series left that they got to complete. The Celtics were down by 18 points. Maybe one of the most lackluster performances of that first half of that game 3 that I have seen maybe in that whole playoffs. And they just absolutely cruised left and right. Celtics looked dead in the water. However, in that end of that third quarter, the Celtics started to creep back in a little bit, making stops, and making stops. Fourth quarter came around. Jason Tatum probably arguably had his best game of the series in that third game against the Pacers. He had 36. You believe he had a triple-double in that game with no turnovers. Al Horford was absolutely fantastic as well in that game. He had 7 threes. Essentially, he was one of the biggest reasons why that we won not only that series, but that game. The Pacers blew an 18-point lead in Game 3. So they're down 3-0. Halliburton, by the way, was out for Game 3. Now let's go to Game 4. Season's on the line for the Pacers. The Celtics, literally, they could have just been like, all right, no team has ever came back from 3-0. Ever. And, they could have been kind of like what Dallas did in Minnesota, where Minnesota played for a little pride. They won that fourth game. And then, Dallas went to their barn and essentially smacked them. And that was that. The Celtics could have done that. But the Celtics, even though that they were down by 8-9 points with around 5-6 minutes left in the game, they found a way. And they won. But all the games essentially in this series were close. The Celtics had to fight. Pacers were tough, man. They play a really high-powered offense that is fast consistently. It'll push the other opponents really, really well. The one thing I do think about Indiana, though, which I think favor the Celtics, is, they played a ton of pressing, right? And they played a fast offense, essentially 99.9% of the time. And you just can't do that in basketball. Obviously, it's really key to have those components with you and your team. But to have that essentially for the majority of your team, it's just not sustainable. You need to have balance. You look at the Celtics, look at a lot of these other type of teams, playing essentially at a half-court pace, at a full-court pace. You got to win in different ways. So for those people that want to say, well, the Celtics essentially won because a lot of the guys got hurt. Okay, so what? Nobody was controlling the injuries. Nobody from the Celtics fan base wanted these guys hurt. Even if those guys were healthy, nothing to take away from Miami, right? Nothing to take away from Cleveland. Nothing to take away from Indiana. This Celtics team, on paper specifically, we're probably going to still beat them regardless. It might have taken a little bit deeper in a series, but you saw glimpses in that series specifically where I still did not think that any of these teams, essentially, whether it was Miami with Jimmy, whether it was with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, or whether it was the core three of Halliburton, Turner, and Pascal. And nothing to take away from those guys at all because they were great players. But the Celtics this year are just different. And people just got to understand that they haven't already. In the 3 of the 4 games against Indiana, they were down every single time in the fourth quarter. Every time. And in many past years, the Celtics team would cave. Crunch time. A lot of games in Indiana against the Pacers, crunch time. The Celtics never won those games in the past. Never. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Kristaps Porzingis, one of their best defensive players, one of their best offensive players, was out the last 2 rounds. So the Celtics essentially had to play a ton of pressure on their starting 5. Their bench gave you nothing. It's really hard to win when you can't have a ton of production from your bench. But since the Celtics starting 5, even without Kristaps Porzingis, can literally drop you 25 plus from Tatum and Brown, 15-14 plus from Derek White, 10 plus, 10-12 plus without Horford, Drew Holiday was fantastic. They just, whatever happens this year specifically, this is why the Celtics need to win it all this year. Because there's a belief in this year's team that I have not seen with this team in years past. A lot of games, just like that Pacers series, that they would have caved. They would have told me specifically, well, it's not meant to be. They finished off series a lot better this year. The Cavs series, the Heat series, the Pacers series, all in 5 or less games of the series. In which past years, there'd be five more games. 5, 6, 7 even. Celtics didn't want to have that happen this year. And that, my friends, is why they're different. But let's go to the Mavericks. I love to talk about my Celtics, but I'll talk about them a little bit. The Mavericks, like I said, their road essentially, right, there's obviously was a little more tougher than I guess the Celtics. Then you could say it was the Celtics. Obviously a lot of the other guys were healthy, which I can understand. All right. But they had to beat the Clippers. They obviously beat Minnesota. They've been a lot of really good teams. And like I said, they deserve to be at this stage right now. Kyrie obviously and Luka doing great things, but obviously Jason Kidd, the head coach, he's obviously done a really good thing over there at Dallas. And Derek Lively obviously has been great over there. His defense has been absolutely stellar for sure. It just brought back Maxime Kleber to in Game 5 against Minnesota. Really good shooter. They could do a lot of things well. They could obviously have shot creators like Luka and Kyrie. They're really good down the stretch. I will say in that Pacers series, they didn't really have many great guys in crunch time. And that's one real reason why, all right, you kind of understand how the Celtics came back. Still, doesn't take away from the fact that their comebacks were crazy. But if the Celtics kind of put themselves in this situation, maybe against a team like this in the Mavericks, the results might be a little bit different because Luka and Kyrie are just that right now in the playoffs. So yeah, the Mavericks obviously just are deserving to be here. So this is why we're going to talk about it right now. So let's get to first the X's and O's really of this series. Games 1 and 2 are going to be Thursday night and Sunday night. Currently this week, and then they kind of go in like 3-4 day increments. It's kind of a little different than compared to the playoffs before. I definitely, after the Celtics beat the Pacers, I definitely kind of need a little break because as great as it is to watch the Celtics in the playoffs, I mean, man, it's great to obviously have your team in it, but the stress level that it just takes in terms of yourself, it's ridiculous. But I'm ready for the stress to come back for sure come Thursday because I definitely feel like that I'm ready to go. And my body definitely can handle it, whether I'm ready or not. But yeah, game 1 is on Thursday against Dallas. And then obviously as follows Game 2, which is next Sunday. So I might have a post-game show after Game 2. I'll probably have a post-game show. I've been doing a lot of post-game shows on my IG Live on Ben Kruse 12, which is my profile on IG if you guys are interested. So I'll see if I can do some post-games after. I had some fun with those last round. Game 3 is next Wednesday. And then we got Game 4. All the games currently outside of Game 2 right now is at 8. The rest of them are 8:30. They're going to be all on ABC. I don't think specifically going to start right on time. It's the finals, but I'll be ready regardless. And the first 2 games are going to be in Boston, as the Celtics do have home court, which is obviously fantastic to see. So yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great storylines we have. Obviously, let's talk about the stars first. Let's talk about Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and we'll talk about Luka and Kyrie. As we finally have here our co-host for tonight, as usual, Isaiah. Before we get into this overall NBA Finals and kind of the storylines it's going to be kind of taking, Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you had a great weekend. I know it's crazy to think we're already in June, man. It's absolutely wild. Going to the pool the last couple weekends. At least in my area, I have a pool club in my area, so I've been going a lot lately, including today. I went, and so like just the summer feels back, and playing a lot of golf and doing a lot of other great stuff currently right now. So just hope you're enjoying the weather, my friend, and glad kind of summer is kind of full with us right now, and we got a lot of great sports ahead too. So the vibes at this point in time, I can't complain really. They're doing well. So how are you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing great. Definitely the summer vibes is upon us. I mean, it was 82 degrees where I'm at right now today, so definitely felt like summer for sure. I've never really had ice cream this early. But yeah, it's definitely time for the ice creams and the watermelons and all the good stuff there. So I've been having that the last several days. I'm just glad I didn't have to work today because if I did, I'd be
Me too.
super groggy. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, it's crazy to think about. I mean, we have the NBA finals coming up this upcoming week.
Mhm.
The hockey finals are coming up, I think, this upcoming week as
Yep.
well. Basketball's off season is about to heat up. There's been a lot of rumors, and I honestly think that we're gonna see a lot of superstars being on the move this year, and it's gonna be very interesting. Um, you know, Ben, like I know we don't really talk about them, but I've honestly been watching the situation going on in Detroit with the Pistons because it might
Mhm.
be affecting my Lakers. They
Yep.
actually did something, but it wasn't the move that I wanted, which is they fired their GM and not their coach, and now we have to wait
Mhm.
again. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Detroit. We'll see. They're very interesting situation going on there. And then you got baseball too. I mean,
Yep.
baseball's in the heat of things right now, and it's crazy to think about. Trade deadline is coming up
Yes,
in
sir.
July. Um, it's just crazy how time has flown, and football training camps begin next month. I mean, just think about that. Like
Yep.
that's how crazy everything is, and we got the NHL draft coming and the NBA draft coming up in a couple of weeks. So
Mhm.
it's just crazy how everything is. And we both know that the NBA draft has changed over the years, and now like all the like the blockbuster like bombshell action takes place like either before the draft or during the draft with all the trades that go down involving stars. So I could see like in the week leading up to the draft, we could see a star getting traded or a couple of stars getting traded and just completely shaking up the NBA.
Yeah, like you said, there's going to be a ton of stuff to watch sports wise. We got college baseball, the regionals going on right now. We got college softball. I mean, any type of sport out there, you probably can watch golf. I mean, everything specifically is currently going on, and definitely nothing better to it. But Isaiah, like I was talking about before we came on, I've just been talking a lot of the finals a little bit, and obviously, you coming on is kind of the perfect time because I was just about to kind of start talking about the preview and the ins and outs kind of the series because now we obviously have this series to us and to our attention. I know that we talked last time in terms of who we thought was going to win Game Five of the Western Conference Finals, and I said that Dallas, I thought specifically was going to find a way. They've been obviously just like a really, really good road team. I obviously didn't expect them to see them blow them out. That was not on my big card whatsoever. But I also think specifically that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, especially in this postseason, has shown to me that their game has started to elevate essentially when things are not going their way or they've been facing a bit of adversity. So I'll talk a little bit about them currently right now because obviously, look at the overall talent in this series. And there's just a ton of talent specifically. Obviously, you look at the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, obviously trying to get their first championship as a duo to try to reach banner 18. You look at Dallas and their duo, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic. A lot of people didn't feel like that this duo was going to work out. And obviously with Kyrie, his antics with other teams in the past and stuff like that. But now they're here. and it's going to be an absolute crazy finals that I think is going to be a very very deep series. So my question to you, obviously, when you look at both of these two teams, you obviously look at the duos. Obviously, I will say specifically the duo. I would say the player of Luca is the best player in terms of this overall series. I'll be frankly, hands down. I won't even surrender in terms of a debate of who is whatnot. But team wise, the better team is the Celtics. I think specifically, especially if they get Porzingis, even if Porzingis is at a 65, 70, degree. But Dallas is a team to not be taken lightly whatsoever. They were a very, very good team. They're a tough, grinded team. And, if Luca and Kyrie are playing at this level specifically, the Mavericks definitely could win that number two. So I'm going to ask you specifically between the two duos, who do you choose? And in terms of the team, who do you think is the better team? Obviously, we won't essentially pick the series just yet. We're going to talk about that in a little bit after we talk about our X factors. But in terms of the duos between Kyrie and Luca, and then Jalen and Jason, who would you take specifically? And then the physical team, who you're taking?
Well, Ben, I think that this series is going to be a classic. I think that I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait for this finals. I think this reminds me of Cleveland versus Golden State back before Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, where the Warriors were this team that had star power, but they were like the better team. But Cleveland had LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, a great, phenomenal like duo where you could put double team, triple teams on them, and they would still get to do whatever they wanted. So I think this really reminds me of that. And the reason why, for me, I'm gonna pick Luca and Kyrie just because they can do whatever they want, no matter who you put on them, and that's what I think it's gonna take to beat Boston is that superhuman effort. And the thing is with Kyrie and Luca is they can give you that. Kyrie and Luca could give you like 50 points a game, 40 points a game, like LeBron James and Kyrie did in Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7 of that 2016 NBA Finals. So I just think that for this series, I got to go with Kyrie and Luca just because of the offensive skill set. Both can shoot threes. Both are phenomenal getting to the paint and getting whatever they wanted. I mean, there were moments in that Timberwolves series where Minnesota defended Kyrie exceptionally well, but Kyrie just got a great shot, and he just ended up hitting the shot, and you got to tip your cap to him. So, and also when it comes to closing situations, like we've seen how important that is in the playoffs. Like Stan Van Gundy, I think, said on the broadcast, Kyrie and Luka are like the best closing backcourt in the NBA. Like, you give the ball to them, either they're down by one or up by one, and they need a bucket. They most likely always will get that bucket. So, for me, I'll give it to Kyrie and Luka. I think Tatum and Brown are not. I mean, they're not bad of a duo. It's just that Kyrie and Luka is just phenomenal, and they play off each other very well. People haven't noticed this, but Kyrie's actually gotten better defensively this year, which is very surprising because before he would be so good offensively that he'd get away with just like awful defense, and he would have people just blow by him left and right. But this year, he's actually been better defensively, and he's actually been shutting down a lot of opposing guards. I just think it's going to be a great series. It's going to come down to, I think, can the Celtics avoid that? The what really killed the Warriors in 2016? Yeah, it was the Draymond suspension and stupid stuff like that, and the superhuman effort. But don't forget, it was also because Harrison Barnes was wide open, and he missed a bunch of threes in all of the games, in all of the games. So I think that when you talk about this series, it's going to come down to that extra guy for the Celtics, whether it's Horford, whether it's Porzingis, whether it's Derek White, and can they knock down those open shots when the defense is geared up towards Tatum and Brown?
Yeah, and you essentially you know, put it straight on there. Um, and we're gonna just talk about this right now in terms of, obviously we talk about the stars, but it's a team game, and you're gonna have other guys step up. So who are some guys specifically that can step up on both teams? Well, for me, Dallas has Derek Lively, PJ Washington, who I think specifically is their third best scorer behind Luca and Kyrie. The Celtics specifically, we saw in the Indiana series a bunch of guys stepped up besides Tatum and Brown. Horford, Drew Holiday was exceptional. And then Derek White made the go-ahead three to send the Celtics to the finals. So I think the Celtics specifically have other guys specifically that can help out. That's where I think specifically the Celtics have the advantage. Is the more consistency of relying on that third option and more. My question is for Dallas is how consistent is that third plus option that's given to them, whether it's PJ, whether it's Lively, Hardaway Jr., Josh Green. Nothing to take away from these guys specifically, Isaiah. Gafford too. The Celtics are just 9-10 deep where if you get a Porzingis too, where he averages around 16, 17 a game, more often than not, it's because you're just the better overall complete team. And, I rather take full on team than the duo itself because team wins championships more likely than not, right? So, I'm going to go my X factors in both for both teams. I'm going to say that Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis, obviously, if he is fully healthy or close to, that changes everything. That changes essentially the limit of Horford's minutes, which I think is big because he could be a lot more refreshed. Derek White, obviously, I think wasn't even great in the Pacers series, but I think specifically he just adds so many little things that even if he's not playing great offensively, his defense, his free throw shooting, his passing. I don't know specifically if the Mavericks have a ton outside of Luka and Kyrie to me that could be consistently to beat this Celtics defense. Now, obviously, they have guys there. I'm obviously not going to discredit that. But the Mavericks currently right now, I think their X factor currently is PJ Washington. He needs to essentially average around 16 plus a game because Kyrie and Luka could drop all they want. And maybe that might win them a game or two. But a series, when you're facing the essentially the perennial favorites currently from the East, I just don't know specifically if that's going to overtake that. So Kyrie and Luka, I think for the Celtics, it's kind of like the national championship with UConn and Purdue, right? With Purdue having all that talent right there, UConn obviously having that complete team. Well, you let some other guys beat you, right? You kind of know with guys like Edie and some other guys specifically. But if you can limit the other guys outside of that, you got to love your chances. And that's essentially kind of a similar mindset I see with the Celtics and Mavericks series. So my question to you, Isaiah, who are your X factors and who are you trusting team-wise that can trust their X factor?
Team wise, it's definitely Boston. Because we've seen like Gafford has been really athletic. He's been really good defensively. Offensively, I mean he's a lob threat, but that's about it. PJ Washington, he's been open. He hasn't really been that great. Maxi Kleber, by the way, is a guy that is one of my X factors because of his ability to stretch the floor as a big, which will definitely help when Luka and Kyrie drives into the paint and then are closely guarded and then kicks it out to a wide open guy. They got to hit those threes. So I think team wise, I'm definitely trusting Boston because they have White who can beat you. They have Porzingis. If he's healthy, I mean, he can do damage in the paint and also shooting the ball. And then Al Horford, I mean, his shot's been iffy all full season. Here's a guy to watch out for, Peyton Pritchard. He's been very sneaky good for the Celtics off the bench, where he would give you like 10 sneaky good minutes. And sometimes those minutes are like those minutes that propel you to winning a game or two. So I could see him being an X factor. I could see him doing what Christian Braun did last year for the Denver Nuggets, just, having those sneaky good minutes, and being the X factors for the Celtics. So for me, the team I would trust is Boston. Um, for in terms of the X factors for both teams, for Dallas, I'm gonna go with definitely PJ Washington. I think he's gonna be, he's gonna not have a lot of the defense ahead of him, so or on him. So he's definitely gonna be able to get a lot of good looks. He's got to knock him down. You cannot be Harrison Barnes. You got to knock those shots down. Max Kleber as another guy for Dallas. Josh Green's all right. I do want to see him take more of those open threes when he gets it. I just think that his confidence is shot, sadly. The one guy that I'm going to throw out that I don't think a lot of people are expecting is Dante Exum. I mean, this guy is athletic. This guy can shoot quite a bit. So he's going to be open a lot because Kyrie and Luka is going to split the defense. They're going to get the defense where the defense is right on them. There's going to be guys that are open, and they got to knock down those shots. And I think Dante Exum could be one of the X factors in this series. In terms of the Celtics, like I said, Peyton Pritchard definitely. I'd probably say Porzingis, and then in terms of the other guys, yeah, I probably would say Porzingis and Pritchard. I think those two guys are very important to the Celtics, especially off the bench for Pritchard. Whatever production that the bench can give you, I think Pritchard is key for Boston.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Pritchard has been one guy that has played into a role extensively this year. I think that in past years where, he was kind of just that kind of 5 to 10 minute off the bench type of guy in the last couple of years, and kind of a blow up. But this year he's really blossomed into kind of that sixth man, seventh man type of role off the bench. And the one thing I have obviously is as great as the Celtics run has been, I think in this series specifically, the Celtics are definitely going to have more of this. Is their bench production? I think that the bench production just needs a little bit more. Sam Hauser specifically, I love Sammy buckets to death, but the guy specifically can't keep consistently bricking up threes if he's just not making them. Specifically that's overall his role. It's kind of a Duncan Robinson type role, and he's, obviously I'm not going to just take Sammy out of this whole entire mix. But they're going to have some guys specifically step up. And I think that's the biggest thing that if Porzingis can go back in the starting lineup and if Horford goes back to the bench, with Horford essentially kind of playing around the 10, 15-minute mark, his legs are going to be a lot more fresher. I think then you could get a little bit more production with Pritchard and Horford kind of together with those minutes off the bench. And I think that should be enough, to kind of be able to kind of overtake some of that. Looks like we're going to have Isaiah come back in a little bit. But we did have some comments from my co-host, James. James said tonight, can't join him out here counter-protesting. I'll say Celtics in 6 games if Kristaps is healthy. Definitely agree on that. I think this is going to be a really good series. I think it's going to go deep overall. Kleber will be rusty. I do agree with that. I think I think he's a really good player. He's a very good role player, specifically can knock down three, obviously very consistently. But he just hasn't played a lot. So we just got to see specifically if, he's going to be ready to play a lot more minutes. Disagree on Exum. Okay. I mean, I know that Isaiah obviously mentioned him. He's just, I don't know. He's just kind of there to me. He doesn't I don't really see him currently as a threat, but, there's always some guys specifically that goes crazy on the Celtics. So that's kind of been the overall thing. So I guess you just never know, right? So, all right. Now I've kind of talked about the role players in terms of the X factors. Let's go to the actual series. And when Isaiah comes back on, I'll ask him specifically about who he thinks is going to win this series. But I'm going to talk about mine. So, and obviously I'm not even going to go full bias here. I'm obviously going to give my overall reasoning. But the predictions on who's going to win the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Mavericks. I got the Boston Celtics winning this series in 6 games. I think it's going to be close. I think every game is going to be down to the wire. There might be some blowouts here and there. But I think this is finally it. I think this is finally the Celtics kind of this playoffs at least so far, whether it's taking advantage of some guys going down, which obviously, like I said, I don't want anybody going down. I hate injuries. Um, obviously the Pacers specific, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals, obviously not taking advantage of some of their mistakes. But the Celtics in past years would never take advantage of things like this that they had this year. Um, and I think the Mavericks are going to be a really fun team to face against in the finals. They're a tough challenge. They obviously have two of the best players in the NBA. Probably the best player in the playoffs, in Luka Doncic. But I think the Celtics specifically just have the better complete team, and I think specifically that it'll take a ton for the Mavericks to be able to find 4 wins against the Celtics team. It's going to take a lot. I think, defensively, they're not great. They're not awful. I think they're going to be really, really tough. But I do think specifically that if we faced Minnesota's defense, I think it'd be tougher. They got a lot of height between Towns, between Gobert. Dallas doesn't really have much of that. They obviously have Gafford, who's been playing great. They blocked a ton of shots against the Wolves, so I'm not discrediting their defense at all. But I do think specifically, and which, by the way, shout out to your mom. She thinks specifically is my word I use the most, so I'm going to use that a lot now. But I just think specifically, I said it again, that the Celtics are just the better team. I just think, it's going to be deep. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge. But I think that this Celtics team, to me, has been showing things this year that I've not seen in the past years. And it comes down to a coach and Joe Mazzulla, who has really matured this year. A team specifically with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum now having their second finals appearance, which I think that the first one they definitely had a lot of challenges and a lot of adversity with. I think this year they're kind of just playing more freely and they're just kind of ready to take on this next matchup and this next challenge that's ahead, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. I think guys are ready to go. I think guys are locked in. And there's just no excuse. No excuse with the Celtics team. I'm going to be, if the Celtics lose this series, I'm not going to be happy. I mean, obviously, a lot of past years I'd be very sad, and obviously I'm going to be sad specifically if the Celtics win or not. I'm going to be obviously sad and happy tears, or I'm going to be just sad and just, it's another kick in the nuts to a Celtics team that had a ton of fun. But I hope that we're going to be on the right side of things this year. It's time. It's time that we essentially get over the hump, and there's no excuse anymore. There's not breaking up the Jays, because I've heard the media say countless years, all this and that. All the narrative talk is going to keep happening until they win one. And even if they do win one, they'll probably still talk about it. Probably not as much, but now's the time to do it. Nothing to take away from Dallas. Dallas is a fantastic team. They're going to be a very fun challenge, a very good test. But this is the year. This is the year that they have to do it. Those Celtics in 6, you heard it from me first. We'll see what happens starting Thursday night. All right. So, obviously moving on from basketball. And like I said, we'll talk more about this later on this week. Like I said, game 1 for the NBA Finals, Thursday night in Boston, 8:30 p.m. on ABC. All right, let's get into football. Now, I'm sorry. I'll do baseball. We'll do baseball next. So we're gonna get into our team reports. We'll start with my Red Sox. I didn't get to do the team reports on Sports Weekly last time because I was currently not available. I was ready to fall asleep, so that's where I was. But the Red Sox specifically are currently at 30-30. Not surprising at all. You know what with this Red Sox team, which is just not surprising at all. In 2022, I'm pretty sure the Sox were in this part of this season like 26 and 24. Last year, in this part of the time of their season, they were 30-30, and this year, 30-30. They listen. They're the definition of 500. They're not great. They're not awful. They're just mid. They are just there. As we welcome back Isaiah, we're currently now shifted over to baseball. I'll definitely get your NBA Finals prediction at the end of the show for tonight. So make sure to keep on to that. But I definitely want to keep on going with the program. As we're obviously kind of going to our team reports. But yeah, the Red Sox are they're just there, man. You know, they and this is what happens specifically when, you have an ownership that doesn't decide to spend money. You know, you obviously need to have prospects, right? And obviously, they have a core three of guys coming up in Meyer and Anthony and other guys in Teal, guys like that. So like, you're hopeful that in a couple of years that they're going to be exciting to watch and for that to become. But Isaiah, like you mentioned in the past, prospects don't lead to anything anymore in sports. You don't know specifically how these guys are going to be. And I agree with that. I think they're going to be good. They should be good. But until they show it at the big league level, you just never know. And I think specifically that this Red Sox team, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again right now, is you could spend and you could be able to keep your prospects. It could work. I'm not saying for the Red Sox to go full on Dodgers. I don't think a lot of teams are. But you got to at least show me something specifically where you can improve it at different times. Heck, they could have gone out and got a guy like Jorge Soler or Teoscar Hernandez, some righty pop where, I don't know, they've been clearly missing. Your number 3 hitter today in the Red Sox lineup is Dominic Smith. Dominic Smith. And you look at the New York Yankees on the other side of your rival, they got Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Talk about a slap in the face to Red Sox Nation. That Dominic Smith, and no offense to Dominic Smith, I bet you're a great guy out there. I'm not going to go out here and just be like, all right, screw you, F off, this, that. But Dominic Smith should not be a 3-hitter anywhere and any team. And the reason why specifically he's playing right now and Garrett Cooper's playing right now, and Garrett Cooper I do like, is because Bobby Dahlbeck is not an everyday first baseman in the majors. He's just not. But with that being said, as I got into my little rant about the Red Sox, not even really a rant. It's more of just a right down to the chase type of thing. The Red Sox are 30-30. I'm not surprised. At this point in time, I'm just like, all right, whatever happens, happens. That's really it. Kind of like with James' Angels. I'm just kind of with that with the Red Sox the last couple of years. It's like, all right. It's like, you go down a game or two under 500, and then you go up a game under 500. It's literally a week, every single week type of thing. So, that's what it is. They just split 2 out of 4 to the Tigers this past weekend. Today they should have definitely won. They were up 3-0. And then the Tigers took a 4-3 lead. Then Devers ties it. They had a chance. Bottom 9th, bases loaded, 2 outs. Connor Juan didn't get the job done. And then extra innings came along and Tigers blew the game open. So that obviously was frustrating. This past week, they played the Orioles. The Orioles seem to just now have our number. 2 of the 3 games they won. Red Sox did win that middle game. But yeah, it's just kind of a back and forth type of week. This week they have 2 against the Braves, and I know the Braves obviously lost to Cunha Jr. for this season. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Braves are still loaded. They're a better team than us. Unfortunately, you won't see Chris Sale this week. He pitched against the A's on Saturday. I think Isaiah did see that. And credit to the A's, Isaiah. I know that obviously you'll talk about them, but they were the team to beat up Chris Sale, who's been, by the way, the best pitcher in the month of May. Credit to Chris, by the way. I still love you. I won't forget the Red Sox ownership for moving on from you. But still, credit to the A's, man, putting up the 8th spot, one of the best pitchers in the game right now. Who would have thought that Chris Sale would be? But like I said, give credit to Chris and what he's always been pitching. But the Red Sox do have a little bit of gift this weekend before they take on your Phillies, actually. And they got a series with the White Sox. The White Sox in Chicago. They should be able to take advantage of the other Sox, which aren't very good either. So that's really the teamwork for the Red Sox. Is just a weak type of thing. It's like when you're on a roller coaster, Isaiah, and you kind of get up to the top a little bit, and you kind of want to go down. Like, all right, yeah, let me just go back up a little bit and kind of just see how it is. That's the Red Sox for you. So really not surprising. That's what it is. Let's go to your teams now with the Phillies and with the A's.
Well, Ben, you talked about how Dominic Smith was your number 3 hitter. Well, in the A's lineup the past 3 days, Miguel Andujar has been our 3 hitter.
He's
So
been doing
I
well
mean,
though, man.
he is actually he's having a resurgent
Ever
season,
since
but
you got to go see him at the airport, you must have had something in him that turned something going on. Because he came up and he's been making the A's. He went deep against Sale. He's just doing the thing, man. So he must have given that magic, man. Good
yeah,
for
I
you.
mean, it's crazy to think about, like opening day. I remember opening day, I met Mason Miller, and that guy's been lighting it up. And then now you have Miguel Andujar. So I was thinking, like, maybe if I just go to every game this season, the rest of the year, I don't know, I might be able to see someone. But yeah, I mean, listen, the A's they had a great decent week. I believe they lost 2 out of 3 to the Rays. Just
Mhm,
incredibly heartbreaking. I mean, the first game they won 3-zip. Miguel Andujar was responsible for the only runs of the game, basically, because he hit a 3-run homer, and the A's won the game 3-0. They unfortunately lost the second game against Tampa. And then in the third game, they should have won that game. I mean, they were up 4-3 going into the ninth, and Mason Miller comes in, and you're thinking, like, okay, this is automatic. Like,
mhm,
Miller's either going to strike out the side or he's going to get an easy 3 outs. And, we're going to head to Atlanta with a series win over the Rays. But no, out of all people, Ben, Jose Siri hits a bomb off of Mason
I saw
Miller.
that. Yeah.
First first bomb that Miller's given up all season long, and he blows his first ever save, and the A's lose because of that. I mean, it was just gut wrenching. It was heartbreaking. I do want to say this. I don't know, but like recently, I feel like teams have caught up to Mason Miller. Like he's been not as good and not as dominant as he's been to start the season. I mean, yeah, he was great, right? To start the year, he was unhittable. I mean, the guy was throwing 100 to 105 with a nasty slider. But the problem with him now is that teams have seen that he doesn't really have good control.
Mhm,
And his fastball, I mean, he throws it, he'll throw it anywhere, and you just can't hit it.
mhm,
But a lot of teams are just waiting it out. I mean, they are just waiting it out to the point where, you just you get him to throw the fastball. He's kind of like wildly inconsistent with it, and
mhm,
so when he's wild with it, teams aren't just out there hacking. They're out there just being patient, waiting it on it, and then once it gets to like 3-0, he's got to get into the strike zone, and
mhm,
then he's been pouring it in there, but they're more ready for it than when they were just out there hacking, and then that slider hasn't been as crisp as it's been recently. He's hung a couple of those sliders. I know against Colorado, out of all teams, he gave up 5 runs in 2 innings of work. And then against the Rays, he gave up, I believe, 2 runs in 2 innings of work. That's another thing about his situation is I don't know why Mark Kotze is making Mason Miller go 2 innings every time he pitches. Like that makes no sense. I don't know why he is doing that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of concerned just because like that one game I went to. I don't know if I said this in the group or not, but I did see Mason Miller. I did see the trainer come out to talk to him, and when I saw the trainer come out, I was like, "Oh crap, he probably
mhm.
blew out an elbow or something like that." But he walked off the mound fine and he came back to pitch a couple of days, but unfortunately he just hasn't been as crisp as he's been to start the season, so I'm kind of worried about that. But in terms of the A's overall, I mean, they go into Atlanta, they should have won today. The bullpen gave it up again, but they lose 2 out of 3. The one game they did win was a wild, wacky roller coaster type of a game where they put up 8 runs on Chris Sale, like you mentioned. The Braves end up putting a bunch of runs on our starters, and then the A's won that game. They won a game, Ben, against the Braves. They won a slugfest against the Braves. I mean, how crazy is that? A team with Miguel Andujar, Brent Rooker, a guy named Max Schumann, Brent Harris, winning up a slugfest against Matt Olson. Yeah, I know, right? It's baseball. It's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, the A's, like, they lost 2 out of 3. But you know what? Given it was against the Rays and the Braves, I can't really be disappointed about it, just because, like, yeah, you lost 2 out of 3 to both teams, but you could have easily gotten swept by both teams. So
like
they are
lost 3-1 today to one of the best teams in baseball. I mean,
yeah.
You can't be like that, like, mad about it.
No, you can't. It's just that, like, now, like, the season is pretty much lost at this point, so it's just about effort at this point for the A's. And it's about guys trying to improve their overall value so they could get traded. So I could see guys like Miguel Andujar if he keeps it up. Guys like potentially Paul Blackburn, getting dealt at the deadline. The A's have some pieces they could trade. Brent Rooker is another one.
He'd be good, yeah.
And then, like, obviously the elephant in the room. I mean, Mason Miller, who knows what they're going to do with him. I mean, the fact that they're even considering dealing him when he's got 6 years of control left, I mean, that pisses me off, because you're a team that values small contracts, and he's got 6 years of cheap contract where you're paying him like $500,000 and you're willing to deal that for like a historic haul. Like, I don't understand that, but yeah, it makes no sense. Maybe it's best for him that he gets traded. I don't know, so he can showcase his talent. I know, Ben, I don't know if you've seen this, but Yankee fans have been left and right saying every time Clay Holmes blows a save, they're always just like, trade for Mason Miller, go get Mason Miller.
Yeah, it'll be them or it'll probably be the Dodgers. But I'll tell you this, man, you might be onto something with the Giants, because Duvall, I mean, he blew another one today against. Obviously the Yankees have been insane this year, but the Giants might need some back end help too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the Giants, is the Giants have been decent, but if you look at their bullpen, I mean, they've had a lot of bullpen issues this year. I think they're leading the league in blown saves. Their 7th, 8th guys have not been that great. And then Camilo Doval, I mean, I think it's time to have a conversation about it. This dude is not what he once was. I mean, he was unhittable, basically, back in 2021, 2022, but he just hasn't been the same. I mean, he's still good, but he's not that shutdown closer where you're like, okay, I can give him the 9th inning and he'll bring home an automatic W. So, I think for the Giants, maybe it's time you consider it. Miller was there when Farhan was there. He was there when Bob Melvin was there, or he was in the minor leagues in the A system when those guys were there. So, I think definitely that's a move that you might have to consider if you're the Giants, and if you really want to go after the Dodgers, that's a move you got to make, because Miller would give you your. That's the thing about Miller, is a lot of teams don't know this, but he was supposed to be a starter. He was supposed to be a starting pitcher, but they moved into the bullpen because he was having he strained his elbow last year. But when he was a starter, I mean, this dude, there was one game against, I believe it was against the Astros, against Jose Altuve and those guys, where he pitched 6 no-hit innings, and
That's
he got
right. Yep, I remember that now.
Yeah, he pitched 6 no-hit innings. So, like, when you trade for him, you're not only getting one of the best closers in all of baseball, who is a rookie, and he's going to get even better and better and better, but you're getting a guy that potentially could be an ace. I mean, that's why, I was telling James the other day that this guy could go for a Shohei Ohtani type package, because you're not only trading for a great closer, you're trading for a guy who potentially, if you do move him into the starting rotation, given that, like, God forbid if his elbow blows out or not, but you could be getting one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball, and that gives you like immense value. So, um, yeah, for the A's to even consider trading him, it's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Giants, they definitely do need to get some help in the back end of the bullpen. But back to the A's, like I mean, they're playing the Mariners starting on Tuesday. I'm actually going to be there on that Wednesday game because they're doing a special promotion where I guess it's one of their promotions since they're leaving the Coliseum in Oakland this after this season. They're doing some promotions now where Wednesday is actually Dollar Dog Night, and I've been very excited about that because the A's have never had that before, and I know other teams have done that. So
Yep.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait to get myself a hot dog. Then they play the Blue Jays, who have struggled as of late. Then the Padres,
Mhm.
and the Twins. So they are playing a lot of great teams. So that's my team report on the A's. I mean, they're fighting, which is
Yeah,
good to
definitely.
see. Yeah, and like a lot of players, you could see like, okay, like he's a keeper. He's probably gonna get dealt. I just hope they don't trade Mason Miller because I think that's a guy that you can build around. Like you talked about earlier about prospects, not like you shouldn't just rely on prospects, and that's true. But when you do have pieces that have proven to be good major league, especially great major league players, you shouldn't trade them, especially
Correct.
when they have like 5 to 6 years of control left. So
Correct.
yeah, in terms of the Phillies, I mean, that's another team that's been thrown out there as a potential Mason Miller trade target. Because Dave Dombrowski, Ben, you know him well from the days with the Red Sox.
Yep.
Right now, the Yankees, they're one of the best teams in baseball. I mean, they're 41 or 40-19 right now. I know they lost the series to the Giants, but I mean, the offense is clicking. Harper's doing what he does always. Schwarber's doing what he's doing. Everybody else is doing what they're doing, except I would say Nick Castellanos. And remember, they're doing all this without Trey Turner. So wait till
Yep.
he gets back and he makes the lineup even more potent.
Right.
Um,
And that's not to say that they're probably get some stuff, probably get a guy maybe at the trade deadline too. Like that could be out there. I mean, I mean, do they need a third baseman right now?
they
The
have
Phil-
Alec Bohm, but he's good offensively. Defensively, he is not that good.
give me Ryan McMahon. He might be out there. Imagine you put Ryan McMahon essentially in that lineup.
Ooh, yeah.
He's one of the
But
most underrated third basemen, I think, in baseball. The reason why nobody talks about him is because he's on the freaking Rockies. So,
exactly.
yeah.
But also, like, I think for the Phillies, I do think their biggest concern is the bullpen because the bullpen has been not as effective this season. Jose Alvarado's the closer, but they've been going closer by committee. They blew a game tonight because I think Jeff Hoffman blew it, and Jeff Hoffman is not a setup man. I mean, he's not a setup man on a championship winning team. So if they're serious about winning a title this year, and they're the best team in baseball. They should be. I would go get Mason Miller. I really would because if you're Dave Dombrowski, I mean, you are the best team in baseball. Like, why not go all in this season and push your chips all in? Especially that everything seems to be going for you right now. So, the Phillies took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. Great series. The offense did their thing, but yeah, I think Philadelphia. I think they'll be fine. But like I said, I think on Sports Weekly last week, for Philly, it's not about the regular season. I mean, they can have the great regular season all they want. It's about the playoffs. If they do like last year and disappoint and don't go to the World Series or don't even bring home a title, it's going to be a massive disappointment.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Their expectations at this point in time are absolutely at full on stake. James, I know we don't have James tonight on the program, but he said with his Angels, Angels were swept in Seattle. They suck in last place at 100 losses counting. James, I know specifically you're not with us today, my friend, but trust me, I know how it really feels. Especially without Trout now. I mean, there's just really nothing there over at the Angels right now. And yeah, man, I obviously saw uh, when I was looking at your comic counter protesting, I was I was thinking about specifically, are you talking about protesting with the Angels? Because I don't know if you saw this, Isaiah, the other night at Angel Stadium. The Angels concession workers were actually having protests in the stadium. So yeah, I don't know how if you were gonna say anything about that or you felt about it. But yeah,
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 I
that's
I I
awful.
know James, he's part of an Angels podcast network, and
Yeah.
one of the guys that is part of the network wore a clown mask, or he colored his face to look like a clown, and I
Oh,
heard that he wasn't able to even get into the stadium. He actually got kicked out, and he did
oh,
like a, if you guys haven't seen it, go ahead and see it. He did like a whole rant on that network about, like, it was like a 27-minute rant
oh,
about how pathetic the Angels are. Like, I couldn't believe it.
man.
I know James probably, he knows what I'm talking about, but yeah, that guy couldn't get in. Ticket, wasted money on that, and then he did like a whole full blown rant about it. It was insane.
Damn, I definitely have to check it out. All right, let's go into two things on the Mets. And I know that you guys were talking about that last episode, but I kind of want to retract it and kind of want to talk with you about this. Before we go into one specific guy that's going to be out there in the market and what team should get him, one guy that you definitely know pretty well, and then we're going to finish off our show tonight with a little football talk. All right, and as you the Met thing, which of course I love you to show. Um, I heard you and James talk about this, and I did kind of talk about this on a short video on my other network. Shout out to Empty the Bench as always. But the Jorge Lopez situation, I wanted to talk about this with you because obviously, specifically the Mets are an absolute disaster of where they are right now. With their team, they lost 2 out of 3. No, they got swept. I'm sorry, they got swept by the Dodgers. They split against the Diamondbacks, even though that I thought they should have won at least 3 out of 4 games. But that's the Mets for you. Their bullpen is just an absolute disarray. Edwin Diaz is currently on the shelf right now. He's just not been the same guy. So obviously that's a massive thing not to have a healthy Edwin Diaz currently. Their offense has been a very up and down, very shaky. But the Jorge Lopez situation, I think, has been the reason and the top of the cherry of the Mets organization in one word. And that is an absolute disaster on full ends. Um, Obviously, Jorge Lopez got his wish because after specifically he got DFA'd, and Mendoza and their organization was not having it whatsoever. But for those that don't know about this, and I'll kind of talk about this on my show real quick, is Jorge Lopez was a former reliever on the Mets, and the game I believe on Wednesday argued with the umpire after I think a ball call or something like that. I don't remember, but he got tossed from third base umpire after some choice words. He walked back to the dugout. Definitely was kind of throwing himself a temper tantrum, walking back, and he got so mad that he threw his glove over the dugout into a fan's hand, which by the way, that fan was a Yankee fan that wasn't even a Mets fan, which makes the things even like more hilarious to kind of come out of it from not a Mets standpoint of view. But then after the game was over, they obviously interviewed Lopez, and he obviously said some choice words as well after kind of the choice words that he had on the field. And he said that I was playing on the worst effing team in baseball. And of course, a lot of backlash happened. A lot of people are kind of backtracking in terms of the comments. But regardless of the fact, you got DFA'd about an hour or two after. And yeah, so that's where the Mets are right now. And currently with the Mets as well is, according to Bob Nightingale today, in his bookmark article notebook, which by the way, Isaiah, check it out. I know that Bob Nightingale's not the greatest guy, but he does have some good stuff here and there that I'll look about, because the last couple of years he's been credible on some stuff here and there. Obviously not great. Obviously trust guys like Paston, Rosenthal over them. But this one is kind of not surprising, the one that he mentioned. And he mentioned that Pete Alonso, um, Adam Ottavino, Harrison Bader, Starling Marte, I mean, they're going full on fire sale, which, I mean, with all the money that they essentially have made in the last couple of years, they have to make a decision. Alonso's obviously going to be a free agent this offseason. They got some guys specifically that they're going to have to keep around and have to make some tough choices. The only two guys specifically that aren't on that list that I read today were Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor. But I think every other guy specifically that has some value to the Mets is going to be either gone or traded. There's a traded or essentially going to be a free agent this offseason. Some team is going to pick them up. So I want to ask you, obviously, the two things: the Mets fire sale and some guys that they should move on from, some guys that hopefully they could keep. And then obviously the Jorge Lopez situation, because obviously it's a massive thing, of course, around me right now in the New York metropolitan market. A lot of Met fans are just, it is not pretty. Let's just say that.
Yeah, let's talk about, I mean, let me talk about the Jorge Lopez situation right now. It's just another case of the Mets being the Mets. I mean, the Mets have honestly turned into the worst organization, not just in baseball, but probably in all of sports. I mean, remember what bad with the Knicks from a couple of years back before they got their stuff together, where everybody was just laughing at them, like they had literally like the worst things to ever happen. They throw Charles Oakley out of the Garden. He was seen like getting literally dragged out by police out of the Garden. It was crazy. But now, yeah, now that's the Mets. I mean, the Mets
Mm.
literally have been this organization like the last 10 years. You know, I freaking believe I forgot what it was. It was like a story where there were two stories when Mickey Callaway was the manager, where he was so mad at, or Steve Cohen was so mad or whatever, that after a loss, that him and Callaway had a meeting and he just cussed him out during that meeting, and Cohen reportedly threw a chair and it almost hit Callaway from what I saw. Or from what I read. So from that to the situation where they were arguing in the I don't know if you saw this, but it was like they were Francisco Lindor and others were arguing, like I forgot, it was like outside the clubhouse or something,
Mm.
and they all blamed it on like a possum being there at the
So,
at City
yeah,
Field or something.
yeah.
Yeah, like it was. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. And then now you have this situation. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, not surprised. I mean, it's just another case of the Mets being the Mets.
Mm.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I get that he's frustrated. I was actually shocked that he said like, I'm on the worst effing team in
Yeah.
baseball. Like
Like
that's crazy.
the fact, like, yeah, you obviously, like, people gotta understand, like, things are going bad, but you just don't say it. Like, you,
No, no.
you just don't.
No, exactly. You don't say that type of stuff, and not surprised that he got DFA'd. This kind of reminded me of like you remember when Trevor Bauer was on the Cleveland Indians slash Guardians at that time. He got so mad he gave up a run that he chucked the baseball deep in the center field. Like it was insane. Like yeah, I mean this was what it reminded me of. It just I don't know if he's going to get another job, to be honest with you, because
Mm.
his ERA wasn't even that great to begin with. He was like pitching in low leverage situations. Like I would understand if this was Edwin Diaz or someone that's established, but someone like him, I don't think he's going to get another job, to be honest. Like heck, I wouldn't honestly. I'm not surprised if. And I was joking around with James about this the other day that the Angels pick him up or the A's pick him up, that because they
Oh,
just seem like they always do that type of stuff.
yeah.
But I don't know if anybody will pick him up after that because you would. It just seems like he will be looked at as like a cancer in the locker room after that.
Yeah, I know that the Mendoza and a bunch of guys just were not having it at all. Um,
Yeah, and
Stern
good for them too.
and Cohen. But, and obviously I wouldn't want to see Lopez kind of do it the way that he did. But I do think specifically that sometimes when things aren't going great, that sometimes you just kind of have to let off some frustration. Sometimes when essentially you're just going really, really bad and you're just not doing anything to kind of change it. Obviously, I'm not saying, do what Lopez did or just throw temper tantrums left and right. I'm not saying to do that. Um, but in this case specifically, if you're the Mets, you just don't. You don't do what Jorge Lopez did. You just don't do it. In terms of the Mets fire sale too, as we got Isaiah back on here, in terms of the fire sale, Isaiah, um, what do you think currently about the Mets' overall philosophy for the long term? Obviously, I know obviously the Met fans, at least in my ear, like bringing Juan Soto over to the Queens. Oh my God, I feel like I've been a broken record hearing that. But the Mets specifically currently right now, where they're early stage, right? Like I said, Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, Adam Ottavino, Sean Manaea, Quintana, Severino, some of their starters specifically as well should be out there. Starling Marte, I know that you've been a big Starling Marte fan for sure. Um, but in terms of that overall group, do you feel like that this kind of core group with guys like Lindor, Alonso kind of ran its course? Because personally, in terms of for my thinking of it, I think it has. I think that as great as kind of that core has been and kind of what Cohen was trying to do, I think that there has to be some change kind of ahead with that team. And definitely improve a lot of their pitching because their starting pitching, I think, really kind of come into this year was just very up and down. It wasn't. It was just kind of a mediocre type of rotation overall. So I think that they really have to go out and hopefully maybe get like a Corbin Burns, like a really solidified ace this offseason, and then kind of figure out specifically who is their guy, for their offense. Whether they extend Pete, which I could still see happening, but I don't because he's a Scott Boras guy. Um, but what do you think of this fire sale? Because I think specifically right now, there's going to be a ton of coveted guys for other teams by the deadline that there's going to be some former Mets that I think could definitely be finding their new homes by a month.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about the Mets, I think they're gonna gut the roster. David Stearns is the new president of the baseball ops there. He wants to build that roster in his image and he wants his guys. And so I'm not surprised that you're hearing all these rumors. You're not surprised you're hearing all these options of players. Their roster is going to be gutted. That's a fact, and it's like why we are all watching Detroit because with the Pistons they have a new president of basketball ops. They are probably going to want to gut their roster. They're probably going to fire everybody. I mean, they already started with the GM. So I think that for the Mets, they're going to fire. I mean, they're going to get rid of it. A lot of guys. I think Marte's going to be gone. I think that Manaea probably. Severino's been very good this season. I think he's a trade candidate. Pete Alonso, you can book this right now. Pete Alonso will be traded by the New York Mets. It's a given because the Mets they're not gonna resign him. If they were gonna re-sign him, I think David Stearns would have done it this offseason. But with them being bad, with them not having great success, with Stearns coming in, it just seems like he wants to move on from all the old regime guys. So I think for the Mets, I don't think he's going to be traded. I think that's going to be the big conversation of the summer is where does Pete Alonso land? Because with the Mets being that bad, it's a given that he's going to be traded, and it's a matter of when, not if, that he gets traded. And it's a matter of where he gets traded now.
So really quickly, like just on the top of your head right now, where do you think personally Pete would go if he does get moved?
I think a lot of teams could use him.
There's a lot, but I got one team I think that makes a massive ton of sense that I don't know if you're gonna have, but I'll definitely have.
Okay. I was thinking this is crazy, Ben. How about the New York Yankees?
I've heard that in the past.
Because of I know Rizzo has been decent, but this is Pete Alonso we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the Yankees always go for stars. And you have a lineup now like you did in the 90s where anybody from top to bottom can beat you. So, but the thing is, if David Stearns, imagine, Ben, if David Stearns trades him to the Yankees, he would be one of the most hated men in New York. I mean, the Mets fans would not forgive this dude.
Yeah.
They really wouldn't. That's what I even though that's an option, I don't know if that's gonna happen. Because does David Stearns really wants to wreck his reputation like that? Is the biggest.
And then the Yankees are gonna try to pay Soto massive amounts of money. They're not gonna have enough to allocate for a guy like him. So As looked like we lost Isaiah again, but yeah, I mean that Yankees Alonso type of scenario, man, that would got me for sure. But that would definitely be something. If he came a Yankee, I mean, if they were to find a way to keep Soto there long term and then Alonso there. I mean, goodness gracious, I would hate playing in that division for so much longer. For me, Isaiah, I got the Cubs. I think the Cubs, I think, would be a really fun fit for Alonso. I think he can definitely be the guy there. I think that another thing with Pete too is like he wants to kind of be the guy, and I think specifically like with the Mets he was kind of with some like other guys, but like the Cubs when you look at the Cubs right now, it's like Bellinger and Swanson, like they have guys there, but they're not like there's not like a star type of there, and I think that Alonso would be a perfect guy. He's already played in a big market, and if you go into another market specifically in the National League, and I think the Cubs would be a fun fit. But we'll see. Um, so that's the Mets for you. Just the Mets being the Mets, as Derek Jeter said. For that. James, thanks James once again for tuning in and to comment. I think they'll trade Alonso, but will they trade Lindor? That's a fantastic question. And
Ooh.
Isaiah, if you want to comment into that, for me, no, they are not going to trade Lindor because of that contract. Um, I just don't think that contract specifically has any type of term where they can trade him. That's a really good question, but I think outside of Lindor and Nimmo, any of those type of guys specifically that are going to be out there on the market are going to be guys. Well, or not going to be on the market, but essentially guys that are going to be available are going to be available. Whether it's Alonso, whether it is Manaya, Severino, Bader. Obviously, Bader could definitely give a team, in the second half, maybe a number fourth outfielder option. Really good guy there. Marte, another situation there. Um, but yeah, I don't think Lindor is going to get traded. That's a very good question, though. Brewers. Ooh,
Ooh.
okay. I like that. That's really, really interesting to see Pete in Milwaukee. Yeah, I mean the Brewers don't really have much there. I did hear a report from the same Nightingale article, by the way, that Willie Adames has not made any progress on an extension, and more likely than not, he's going to test the market this offseason. So that's definitely something to kind of keep in mind as well there. All
Well,
right.
before we move on, I do want to get my input on the Lindor thing. I
Yep.
don't think he's going to get traded because of the contract. But, then again, we've seen that with Steve Cohen before, where guys that you're like, okay, he's not going to get traded because they're going to owe either they're going to have to pay off a lot of money, they end up getting traded because Steve Cohen chips in a lot of money. So,
Mhm.
I don't think he will, but if a team ponies up with like a number one prospect, I could see Cohen just being like, you know what, this could be like Max Scherzer 2.0, and he just chips in a bunch of money just to pay it off and get that top prospect to boost the farm system. In terms of other candidates, quickly, Starling Marte, do not rule out San Francisco because yes, Matos and Ramos has been playing very well for the Giants. But
Mhm.
Matos has cooled off significantly since he had that hot streak earlier. So they still need with Jung Ho Lee out for the year. They do need
I like
someone in
that.
center field.
Mhm.
Michael Conforto's missed quite a bit of time. I could see that, especially with the Bob Melvin connection, since Marte played for Melvin in Oakland, so I could see that. And I think Marte would get the offense going because he's the guy that puts the ball in play. That
Yeah.
really, really would help the Giants a lot. And then, Lindor. I mean, not Lindor. Alonso. I don't know if this is even gonna happen, but I wouldn't rule it out. Do
Hey,
not rule out the Texas Rangers because they're known for making like just bombshell moves.
I mean, they
When
definitely
you
need
lose
some help right now because they have been they're in a rut.
yeah, they haven't been good. I mean, they won their first. By the way, they won their first series. I think in the past 3 weeks. Today against the Marlins. So yeah, I mean, he would be an
Damn.
upgrade over the. He'd be an upgrade over Nathaniel Lowe for sure.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I could see it. And I mean, Texas, like we said, they're built to win now.
Right.
Houston's on the downfall of things. Seattle, they're gonna do something stupid at the deadline and end up
I don't.
choking it
Yeah, I just
away.
don't see that at all.
Yeah, like if you're Texas, why not go for it? Like, okay, just go for it. Like it's your window to win now. You just won it last year. Like, why not go be more aggressive? That's why I'm really confused as to why they didn't try harder to get Shohei Ohtani. Because I was like, you just won the World Series. Houston's getting older. They're more injury prone. A lot of their guys on the downturn of things. Like, why not just go all in and just go all in and maybe try to get a dynasty and try to be like the 1990 Yankees for the next couple of years. Like you really could, especially with Evan Carter struggling.
Mm,
Langford has been not that great this season, so
mm.
I mean, imagine that lineup: Seager, Simeon, Garcia, and you add Pete Alonso to that. I mean, that'd be crazy for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, it'd be disgusting for sure. All right, the last thing, really quick in baseball that I do want to talk about is the most coveted guy that will be on the pitching market this trade deadline, and that, according to multiple reports, is going to be Jesus Luzardo from the Miami Marlins. So for me, Isaiah specifically, this team makes the most perfect sense in the world, and I'm going to hate it, but this is going to be the team, and that is the Baltimore Orioles. They definitely need some pitching help in their top end. They just lost John Means and uh I'm trying to remember. Sorry. Wells. Taylor Wells. Yeah. Two of their front guys out for the season. So they essentially need some guys to kind of replace them. Dean Kramer is going to be out, I think, for another month. So really, between Grayson Rodriguez and Corbin Burns was obviously really good, but you can add Jesus Lazard on that top end. That essentially can make them definitely not only division winners, but definitely really help them when it comes to the playoffs, because obviously they really were struggling last year in pitching and starting pitching specifically in the playoffs. So for you, really quickly, for Jesus Luzardo, who could be definitely the team that would be the most perfect fit for his services?
Well, I don't think it's going to be any team in the division because I think that they're going to in the NL East. I think that they're going to try to get him out of that division and not trade him in division. Otherwise, I would have said the Phillies because I think the Phillies do need another starter outside of Nola, Wheeler, and Suarez. Suarez actually got hurt against the Giants or against the Cardinals. There was a comebacker that hit him. Thankfully, he's okay, but
Okay.
I think he's going to get traded to an American League team, like you said. Baltimore, I could see. I would hate to see this, Ben, but the New York Yankees, just because this is their best season in a long time. So
Yeah.
why not go all in? And
I would say so.
they had talked with the Marlins about Luzardo recently. Um, I can't rule out the Giants because I think the Giants are going to make a run. I think that they're going to make a run. I think that they're going to try to do something to try to get into the playoffs. So I could see it, especially with the Bob Melvin connection.
Mhm.
And then maybe Seattle because their pitching has not really been that great this season. So maybe they add some depth, add another ace to that rotation.
Yeah.
Um, a team that really needs pitching is Texas, but they have
I'm gonna
DeGrom
say
and
the
Scherzer.
Astros too. Like,
Ooh, yes, the Astros are another team. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So
I could see those.
and another thing, speaking of the Astros, really quickly, do you think that they're going to be sellers by the deadline?
Um,
It's
I
tough.
don't know. It's
Like
tough. Yeah.
they're like going to be like the Blue Jays too. Like I feel like both teams feel like they could be on a run, but they just been like just not been playing well. Like you feel like at this point in time, like we're at June now. Like obviously, I understand like April, May, there's going to obviously be bumps and flows, but this point in time of your season, you're kind of who you are. That's really it. I mean, the Red Sox are pretty much where they are, and I'm not surprised about it. They're a 500 type team. The Phillies currently right now, look at it right now, they're one of the best teams in baseball. Not surprised by that, right?
No.
The A's obviously are playing a lot more competitive. They're obviously trying to project kind of their win total from last year. That's not surprising, right? The Angels obviously currently where they're constructed. No, sorry to you, James, but they weren't going to be great regardless if they had Trout or not, right? So you are who you are, right? So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, if the Astros were a seller, think about the amount of guys that want Kyle Tucker right now, who's essentially
Ooh,
leading
yes.
right now, or a team like the team. I mean, Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette could be out there, and I heard that the Dodgers want some more offensive help.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like
No.
Bo Bichette with the Dodgers. Like, why? Like, no. But we'll see. I hope
So
that's not.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the Dodgers. Like if
I
that
don't.
happens, oh God.
I don't think. I don't. I heard today. I don't think that they're going to move those guys. Thankfully, but I never say never. We're gonna have to see about that for sure. James also said, by the way, look for Tyler Anderson to get traded by the Angels. You know what, Tyler
Yeah.
Anderson, I think he definitely could be, give a guy a team the second half that needs innings. I think that's what definitely Anderson could definitely get him for sure. You're gonna say something really quick, Isaiah?
If the thing with the Astros is I'm not surprised that they're struggling because when you look at them, right, like Verlander, we all knew everybody was like, oh, Verlander is gonna keep being good, but Father Time is undefeated for a reason. I mean,
Sure.
now you see it like Verlander's not the same. I mean, he wasn't the same when he got traded to Houston last year. Like he was decent, but he wasn't like that great. And then Framber Valdez has been decent, but not good. And then you look at the other guys, like it goes back to what we were saying about banking on prospects. I mean, Spencer Hunter Brown was supposed to be really good for them, was supposed to be another ace, but he hasn't really lived up to the hype. Spencer Allegretti's been inconsistent. Luis
Yeah.
Garcia's hurt. Like Urquidy was not great already. He's hurt. Lance McCullers Jr. gets hurt all the time. And then you just look at the offensive players. I mean, Altuve, Bregman, those guys, like they've been great for so long, but
Yeah.
there just comes a time where, yeah, it's time like they start to decline, and we've seen that
Bregman
with
could be
Bregman.
traded by
Like
the
Alex
deadline.
Breg, isn't Bregman hitting like 220? Is it or
I'll look it up
210?
right now for you. Let me see.
And Jordan hasn't been that great this year too.
He's been up and down. Let's take a look at the Astros currently right now. I know like team wise. I mean, look at the team average for the Astros right now. Batting average, they're batting 259. They're 72 homers, so they're still obviously hitting the long ball. Their slugging obviously is at 415. They're okay. So Jose Abreu, Isaiah though, you want to hear something with Jose Abreu, who
Yeah,
they paid a lot of money for, by the way. He's batting 119, a 167 OBP with a 167 slot. Just talk about specifically an awful situation for Jose Abreu right now. Altuve's batting 292, which isn't bad. Um, yeah, James also looked like he put something in. Hader's been awful. Yeah, he has not been good, and he's also been showing the past of the postseason he has not been great. Let alone if they get there, which I don't think they will. And it's really been Kyle Tucker. I mean, Jordan obviously he has right now 11 homers, not bad, 283. Bregman right now Isaiah is 224. That's his average. So he's definitely been sliding for sure. He is hitting the ball a little bit better recently though, so I will say that. But he's going to be a free agent this offseason, and I definitely expect him to be moved at some point. I'm not sure
well,
where.
well, Ben. Here's the interesting part. If you're the Astros, let's say the Astros miss the playoffs. Does Joe Espada go one and done? Because all that
That's tough.
expectation, and for you to not only not win, remember they went to the ALCS last year. For you to not even get
Mhm.
back, for you to not even make the playoffs, I could see it. I didn't like the hire to begin with. I thought really the Astros, like I get like continuity and everything like that, but I
Mhm.
really thought what Houston needed was another like big time like veteran manager. It's why I think that it reminds me of the Lakers hiring Darvin Ham, where it was like it made no sense from the start. You don't hire a rookie to coach a championship team. Those rarely work out. So that for me really puzzled me, and I could see it. And to be honest, this might be a crazy hot take,
Go ahead, man.
but
I'll
I
listen.
honestly, you remember when the Yankees lost to the Astros, right, back in 2017, and then all the controversy that happened.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be funny if that manager for the Yankees that was there ended up managing the Astros in Joe Girardi? Like, that'd be such hilarious if that ended up. Oh, and here's another thing. Alex Cora is a free agent this offseason.
Yeah.
Could he go back to Houston? Because there's talks
I'm
about
gonna
that.
hate
And
it.
oh god,
Well, the Dodgers really right now too, because if the Dodgers currently has their contractor right now, they don't go to the World Series with all the money that they spend. I know it's deferrals, but still, with all the money that they had, I mean, they have no excuse to not be the World Series this year. Just with all the money that they spent, you look at them and the Yankees, who, by the way, sorry, they're going to be both be playing this weekend, potentially in a World Series potential preview. I mean, you talk about must-watch TV in baseball. Watch this weekend with the Dodgers Yankees. I mean, goodness gracious, that's
Yes.
crazy. We'll talk about it probably later in the week because I do think we'll have a show before. I probably like the day or two after the NBA Finals. I think we'll talk about it from Game 1 or something. But yeah, I mean, those two teams. You talk about expectations at an all-time high. The Astros, I think specifically Joe spot on, like you're asking, man. I don't think so. I think probably after the second year, if things kind of are like this, um, I think he'll be going to be fired. But I think that they're probably going to kind of wait it out at least after that first year. A lot of times with like kind of managers kind of coming into their first year, I think a lot of teams kind of evaluate it, kind of see where things are. But it's really that second year. If I feel like
Mm.
specifically if things got really, really bad though, I think like if they were in like, I don't know, like last place and if they were really, really out of it, then maybe we could have a conversation. But I think it's more just like there's some guys specifically just in their core just not performing enough and they've just been battling
Yeah.
consistently, with the injuries, especially on the pitching side. So it really hasn't been all on him. I just think they really just haven't found their groove, and it just might not be enough, given the stake of some other teams that have been
He
really
just
been.
isn't. The problem with Espada is that he seems like a bench coach. He's not emotional. He doesn't have that fiery to him, and that's I think what's really missing is at least with Dusty, he can motivate guys, he can fire up the guys. But with Espada, it's just like for him, it's like he's like that X's and O's type of a guy, and he's like more of an offensive coordinator than a head coach manager type of a guy. So I mean, that's why I think that's another reason I think the Astros haven't been that great, just because it's not just the players, but um, the manager I think is definitely at fault to some extent. But yeah, back to James's comment about Hader. That's another that's I don't even know why they got him. I mean, your bullpen was not a need. You have Presley there. I understand trying to make your bullpen one of the best of the best, but your starting rotation, everybody could see it this offseason was the biggest concern. I mean, it's not a surprise that they're struggling. I mean, we could see it from far away. They should have tried for Blake Snell. They should have gone after Jordan Montgomery. They should have gotten one of those guys.
Mhm.
Um, or maybe even pulled off a trade for Lazardo. I mean, he was out there this entire offseason, but I don't know why they went and got Hader when he wasn't really the problem. Or the bullpen wasn't the problem.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, on that for sure. So we'll talk about it on next show in terms of a lot of baseball stuff. But we're gonna finish it off with some football. Do you realize, Isaiah, that OTAs have been going on right now, like kind of low key, kind of with everything else kind of going on. We've been seeing some guys kind of tossing the pigs can kind of run a little bit over with football. Now I do want to really quickly talk about some free agents that are still kind of among out there. I think that in a couple days, it might have been actually today, I'm not sure, but the cap space for some of these guys after some of the cuts, but like post designation, kind of came out today. So I was kind of taking a look at that. Um, but there's still a lot of guys still out there on the market. I mean, I think guys like Stephon Gilmore and a couple of receivers I think are still out there. We could talk about some names specifically. I don't know if there's any other guys that might interest you. We could talk about, and then let's talk about some of the receivers that are still looking for new contracts. And is there a little bit of turmoil kind of going on in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins sitting out currently the um, during the OTAs, and Justin Jefferson? Obviously, that situation currently going on right there. What's going on there? They're gonna find a way to keep him or not and pay him long term, like they've really been saying, which I think they will. But just for kicks and giggles here and there about this. Where do you want to start in terms of kind of the latest with the football stuff? Do you want to kind of go with the contracts? Obviously, Brandon Ayuk is one that we've been talking about. Obviously, you kind of talked about with the Niners a little bit. Um, but let's kind of quickly talk really quickly about. I would say let's really quickly talk about the free agencies. Kind of the remainder guys heading into June. Is there anybody out there you still want the Niners to take a look at?
Justin Simmons, because
Okay.
I don't trust our I mean, I don't trust our safety group right now. Talanoa Hufunga's coming off a torn ACL, and we know a lot of times, a lot of these athletic safeties, once they tear their ACL, they're just not the same. They don't got enough, like they don't got the pop. They don't have that athleticism anymore. So I could see, and then they have Brown, who is a second-year player who didn't really play much in his rookie year. He only played the Super Bowl, but that was about it. He was a backup last year as our safeties, and I think that that's a concern because now when you think about the Niners, they're a Super Bowl contending team. They're like the Yankees. They have all these star power, but they just haven't gotten over the hump. So I think that they need to get a veteran in there to help out. I think Justin Simmons for the right price would be absolutely amazing. Him next to either Hufunga or Brown would be great for the Niners. And then you can have either Hufunga or Brown, the loser of that, the one guy that doesn't get that starting slot, be a backup. And that'd be really amazing depth for sure. So I think Justin Simmons is definitely one guy I'm looking at. He can still play. He's a very, very young guy. In terms of the others, as Ben, I see you said, yeah, the Niners have a $17 million.
To, I think, I don't know who put this out. I think it was overthecap.com. There's another thing, so I just copied and pasted. Just want to switch really quick.
Yeah, 25 million. They have 25 million in salary cap space. I mean, go get one of these veteran safeties. I mean, he's available. I think Stephon Gilmore is available as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and
David
so
Howard is still out there too.
yeah, Xavier Howard's another one. I could see. Isn't Micah Hyde available too? But he's been injury prone, so
Yeah,
I,
I don't know.
yeah, I would say if I'm the Niners, I'm going after Justin Simmons because he's proven he can ball. He can still ball, and he's a ball hawk, and he's a guy that would definitely fit in very well with that defense.
So yeah, I'm just looking at the top 20 remaining free agents out there, and I'll go through kind of 20 through one really quick. If you want to stop me throughout it, by all means, go ahead. But number 20, we got Kareem Hunt. He's out there. Number 19, we got DJ Humphries, offensive tackle. He played with the Cardinals. 18, we got Mason Cole, the center from Pittsburgh. He's out there. Let's go to number 17, David Bakhtiari, Isaiah. He was cut by the Packers. He's still out there, which I'm kind of shocked about, but he's had some injury problems in the past. All right, number 16, Micah Hyde. Yep, like you mentioned, Micah Hyde is still out there. Wouldn't be opposed to him maybe getting cut. Michael Thomas is out there right now. I don't know how you would feel about him. I don't know who would take Michael Thomas, but he, I think specifically this could be kind of a low risk, kind of high upside type of thing. I've really been a Michael Thomas fan. He's just never been healthy consistently. So the best fits actually for Michael Thomas on the Bleach Report right now. You want to hear the two teams for Michael Thomas?
Go ahead.
The Denver Broncos are one of them, and the New England Patriots. Because the Patriots they have some like young receivers, but they don't have really the guy. And, you won't have to cost the bank for him either. So that would be kind of interesting if Michael Thomas kind of had like a 1-year type of thing with the Pats. Number 14 is one of James's old friends, the Raiders, Hunter Renfrow. He is still out there on the market. I think
would love him on the Niners, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, little slot receiver to go in Shanahan's offense. I mean, it would be a crazy combination.
Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the best fits because the Patriots love their white guys, specifically at receivers. He's one of the Patriots guys right now, and the Saints are another fit for him. Emmanuel Ogbah, okay, he's still out there. From the Dolphins, he's an edge guy. The two best fits for him right now, according to Bleacher Report, are the Saints and the Eagles. Those are the two teams currently that have the fits for him, which I could definitely see. Number 12, safety Jerron Kearse from Dallas. He is currently out there on the market. Yeah, that's definitely kind of an interesting one out there. The Giants and Commanders are the two teams that have currently the best fits for him. Number 11 is Jamal Adams from the Seattle. I don't know specifically who wants Jamal Adams. He actually used to be one of the best safeties in the league. He's definitely kind of cooled off, though. One of the best fits teams, Isaiah, is the San Francisco 49ers, according to Bleacher Report. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Absolutely not. He would be a distraction. I mean, he'd be a cancer in the locker room. Like
Yeah,
he can still play a little bit, but he's been so injured, and he's just been. I mean, the guy's been like such a distraction in the locker room. I know, like him and Geno Smith got into a fight.
hey,
When he was with the Jets, him and Geno Smith got into a fight with the Jets. So yeah, he's just been like a pain in the ass. So I definitely not for me.
I don't blame you. Number 10, we got Yannick Ngakoue. That guy can still ball, man. A really good guy off the edge for anybody that needs some edge help. The Ravens and the Raiders. I feel like the Ravens have been Ngakoue kind of their match, kind of mid in heaven. I feel like he's already played there here and there. I don't know. The Ravens just love their defensive ends though. Number 9, we got offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr. from the Commanders. He could definitely give experience to a team out there. Number 8, Calais Campbell. He's still out there. I don't know, Isaiah, how you like Calais Campbell. Because I know that
Ooh.
Armstead just got caught. I mean, you look at the Niners creating their defensive line right now. Do you feel like you guys might need a guy like Campbell maybe in there?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt because he would provide
Yeah,
depth. But I mean, you have Bosa, you have Leonard Floyd, who they signed this
that's
offseason.
yeah.
They did get I forget his name. They traded for this defensive tackle from the Texans who is supposed to be really good. Oh,
Oh, okay.
Malik
Yeah,
Collins. Yeah, I think that's his name. He's a beast at defensive tackle. So I would probably say, I mean, it's good to have depth. And he would make the Niners defensive line, which is already scary good, even better. But um I mean, he unfortunately he didn't do a lot for the Falcons last year. I didn't even know he was on the Falcons until I searched it up. That's how that's how irrelevant he was last year. But I would probably say, I mean, yeah, like he could be like a sack artist, but I mean, I don't know how much he has left in the tank.
I agree. The 2 fits actually for him on the list were the Ravens, who he played with in the past, and the Bengals as the other team that had him, which I could definitely see. I feel like Campbell could definitely go back to the AFC. Number 7 is Ryan Tannehill. He is still out there. Um, Now, for me, I always had the fit with him as the Jets because if you look at last year, for instance, if Rodgers goes down, who's their backup, right? Um, and so I think he's a Jet. The best fits for Ryan Tannehill and Bleacher Report right here, Isaiah, are the Patriots, I guess, but they have Jacoby, and if May somehow starts, which I think is very, it could happen, right? Why would Tannehill want to come to New England? I just don't see it. The Steelers are another one, and they got Justin Fields and they have um, Wilson. So I don't see those 2 fits at all.
And you have
Um,
Zappy too.
yeah, we still got your guys happy.
You have like 4 quarterbacks, I think, on your team. You have
Yeah,
Joe Milton as well.
we got Milton, yeah, there too. So I don't know why, I did hear that Zappy is right now taking, I think, an OTA is the third series right now, or actually 2. I don't know. But he's still kind of slinging it right now. We'll see. Milton, I think, is going to be a lot of fun though. Especially in training camp, which hopefully I'll be at. I hope to be at Patriots training camp. I know last year I was there. It's always a great blast, and it's good to see the pitch can kind of being thrown around. Yeah. Do you think about Tannehill going to the Jets as well?
The only problem with the Jets is that Tyrod Taylor is there
That's
now.
right.
So
I forgot about
that'd
that.
be tough. Plus, they also got that injured quarterback. I forget his name from Florida State that got hurt really badly in one of their games.
They still have DeVito too.
Yeah, they do have DeVito. Oh,
So
they
yeah,
signed DeVito? Really?
huh?
Oh, they signed Tommy DeVito?
They still have him. Yeah, I don't think he's
Oh,
left yet.
oh, I didn't even
DeVito.
because I thought he was on the Giants. That's why.
Yeah, he's on the Giants. I said for Tannehill. Oh, you're talking about the Jets. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you said the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Jets, I wouldn't like. I think I mean they have Tyrod. I personally would have gotten Tannehill because I think he's a better fit.
Yeah.
But you know, for the Giants, I mean, don't the Giants have Daniel Jones and Drew Lock? I mean, that's gonna be a
Drew Lock,
very
yeah. Daddy Lock which by the way, he can start. There's potential rumors that it could be starting.
Well,
So,
I
man,
feel bad for Brian Dable because imagine like your coaching career, your head coaching career is depending on Drew Lock or Daniel Jones to help you win games. Like,
yeah,
oh God.
RIP. Um, Let me ask you this with Tannehill. How about Commanders backup? What's the Commanders backup like right now? Their situation because I know they have Jaden Daniels. Uh,
Ooh, what is the Commanders backup like?
yeah, let me take a look at that right now. As I'm still talking, because like Tannehill, I don't think he's a great quarterback by all means, but I think he definitely could be a good enough quarterback where a guy goes down and he definitely could kind of learn the system. I don't think
Right,
that
right.
Mariota, that's it. He is the backup.
Oh, that's right.
And Washington, okay. Philly right now, it's Pickett. He's the backup. We're kind of testing our backup quarterback knowledge right now as we speak. Um, Texans have Keenum. I think of that for Stroud. Um, man, thinking right now. Dallas maybe backup. They have Cooper
That was a
Rush.
someone. I forgot.
Maybe. Let me see where Ryan Tannehill, by the way, is from as well. Because sometimes with backups too, they might just want to go home. Tannehill currently he's from Texas, Lubbock, Texas. Okay. And they might go 3 deep with their quarterback room if they got Tannehill behind Dak. I could see that.
They have
Uh
Rush right now, right? They have Cooper
they got
Rush.
Rush, right. But I don't know. I mean,
Oh, they have Trey Lance. That's
oh, they
right.
got Trey Lance. Damn. So they're going to be probably out of it as well. Damn. Now, how about this? Let's go to our Denver. Denver always
Ooh,
feels like they seem to probably have something with Zach Wilson, Jared Stidham.
oh
Um,
God.
they could try to see if Tannehill could go and try to compete for a job there. Yeah. I don't know how James would feel about him trying to look at the Raiders with obviously Aiden O'Connell, but I don't think that
Um,
would work.
Aiden O'Connell
Um,
and Minshew and Tannehill quarterback competition.
yeah.
Oh,
All right. Well, we'll figure out a place probably after we get off the air here. Let's do the rest of them really quick before we'll probably call it a night here as well. Patrick Peterson is number 6. All right, let's go to number 5. Donovan Smith, offensive tackle. Still shocked that
I
he's
think
out
him
there.
in San Francisco.
Yep. Xavier Howard's number 4. Steven Nelson from the Texans is out there. Isaiah, cornerback from the Texans. He's number 3. Gilmore, number 2. And number 1 is Justin Simmons. So that is the current list of the best remaining guys for agency out there. A lot of guys that are offensive linemen. So anybody that teams that need offensive line help. Not a lot of receivers. Obviously, a couple of guys like Renfro and Thomas. But a lot of offensive line help for sure. Teams that need offensive line and cornerbacks and safeties. So that's obviously something to take a look at. All right, the last thing for tonight we're going to get into is the receivers. I love to talk wide receiver drama. Nothing better specifically. I love to see wide receivers being available, this and that. But let's talk about the Cincinnati situation. I know obviously Higgins has requested a trade multiple times out there. I don't know specifically it's going to physically be moved, but we're still only a couple months until the season, and crazy things have happened, before in the past. So between the Cincinnati situation, Justin Jefferson, is he going to get paid, which I think he will be. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown has gotten paid, and Jaden Waddle got paid this week as well. Tyreek Hill is looking for a new contract currently right now, according to reports. So in terms of these latest rumors on some of these guys, and obviously, you've been looking at the Debo and Brandon Ayuk stuff as well. So let's just get into it. What do you feel like the latest is kind of being with all the wide receivers, contract dispute, all that type of stuff?
Well, I think Ayuk and I think Debo are gonna stay because the rumors have definitely quieted down since the draft. So I think both of them will stay. And it'd be interesting because I mean Brock Purdy can definitely use Ayuk. That's his favorite target, most reliable target. Debo, I mean, with his speed, I mean next year definitely, or this upcoming season is definitely like a all-in type of season with the Niners. So that's why I think that if they don't win it this year, then I think this team blows up and they keep Purdy and I don't know like who else they keep, but it will kind of break up a little bit. In terms of the other guys, T. Higgins, I don't know. Definitely not. Thank God. Thankfully not Kansas City, because the Bengals would have been utterly stupid to trade him to a rival like Kansas City. And
Please.
I don't know why. Yeah, like the Bills always help Kansas City. It makes
I
no
know.
sense.
When we were on the draft together and we saw
Yep.
him get Xavier
Xavier-
Worthy. Oh my god.
Oh my god! Like I remember when I read somewhere that the Bills actually had trade offers from both the Patriots and the Chiefs because the
Mhm.
Patriots really wanted Worthy. They wanted to trade back up to give Drake May a weapon, and for some reason they went and they took the Chiefs offer, even though the Chiefs have been like their biggest rival. Like it makes no sense. Like it honestly doesn't. Like I don't know what the Bills are doing. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And then to make matters worse, they trade Stephon Diggs to the Texans and give another rival a huge weapon to help beat Buffalo. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it makes no
Mhm.
sense whatsoever. But yeah, I think that T. Higgins, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
if Jacksonville could have been a team had they not signed a bunch of players this offseason, you know, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Panthers.
Minnesota, maybe as a number two behind Jefferson, maybe.
That'd be sick.
I know,
That'd be
I know the
disgusting.
Jets are looking for someone. They need another receiver,
Oh yeah.
but you've
Well,
got too
think
much
about this
money
for
already
Raiders
tied
right
in.
now. Devontae Adams. I wouldn't rule out a
Mm.
potential trade by next year with him. I still wouldn't because I think that he's going to be a free agent. I think in a couple of years. No, Devontae.
Yeah, I keep thinking Devontae's gonna end up, getting back with Aaron Rodgers. Like I don't know why.
Really?
I think I feel that like he's gonna end
Let's look at his
because
contract right now.
look at the quarterbacks he's playing with. I mean, you're literally gonna have. I mean, like you thought Jimmy G last year was bad. Now you're gonna have freaking Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell throwing you the football, and not to mention
Okay.
your offensive coordinator Luke Getzey loves throwing the screen passes. So good
Yep.
luck, Devontae.
So I just look at his Devontae's contract. He currently has a opt out in 2025 that essentially he can take. Yeah.
Wow.
Potential opt according to Spot Rack. So that's essentially it's almost like an opt out kind of in baseball. So he essentially, you know, they pretty much have like until 2027. I think his contract is with the Raiders, but there's potential there. I mean, he won't want to get a long term besides that. So we'll see
How
about
about with the
that.
Saints? Get back with Derek Carr.
Okay, I could see that. I like that a lot. But yeah, I mean, obviously with the Jefferson stuff, by the way, I think he's going to get extended. I'm not too worried about that with them. But the Bengals, I mean, Jamar Chase is going to be a free agent next year. I think he's going to be the main focal point. And I think that T. Higgins wants to be the number one on another team. That's, I think, the reason kind of what's going on right now. He had the cryptic stuff. Him and Ayuk really have been the two guys. I think if you're going to look at any guys currently right now that could be on the boot, it's those two guys right now. I think those are the two guys currently, to me, that are the number two receivers on both of their two teams, and they want to be number ones other places. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think the Niners need to prioritize, even though I've said I would want to get rid of him. If I had to choose between Debo and Ayuk, I'm choosing Ayuk because
I would,
Ayuk's a bit of a route runner. Debo is just solely on athleticism. He's not that good of a route runner. And the problem with Debo is once you age, your speed is gone. So
I
I
heard a
don't.
lot with Pittsburgh still right now, trying to get the
Yeah,
phone with the receiver, and do you feel like they would pull a trigger on Debo?
that's tough because
I
if
know
you
Ayuk definitely has been linked with them for sure, but
right,
Debo
right.
specifically, I feel like the Steelers are trying to pounce.
if this was during the draft, I probably would have said like if you could get maybe like this is why I really wanted like a Michael Pittman for Ayuk trade because I think it would have been so good for the Niners because Pittman is young. Pittman is a really good route runner. He doesn't cost a lot of money. It won't cost more than Ayuk. Like it's the perfect fit. But since
Right.
Pittman's gonna stay on the Colts, it's like you might as well just keep Ayuk, Debo. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think as he ages, I don't think his I think his speed won't be there anymore. And then is like what's left with Debo.
Yeah. No, I agree.
He might be a poor man's Deshaun Jackson, to be honest with you. And we saw he flamed out late in his career.
I mean, I'd love the Patriots to like go after him for like a year. It's like a couple years or so. I mean, I just love it, but I doubt it would happen. But I wouldn't be ruling out Debo going maybe somewhere else down the road. But we'll have to see. But with that being said, guys, that'll be it for tonight's show. Isaiah, I want to thank you for coming on specifically for tonight and to complete for this weekend. Like I said, we have a lot on our plate for this weekend with the NBA Finals this week. We didn't even talk about the Stanley Cup this for tonight, but if on our closing thoughts, actually, Isaiah, if you want to get into that and your NBA Finals preview, because I did not want to have you forget about that before you concluded for tonight. So if you want to give your overall thoughts on that, I will give them for my final thoughts, my Stanley Cup Finals prediction. I'm going to go with the Panthers over the Oilers in 6 games. That's my overall prediction for that. And then for the Celtics and Mavericks, I'm going with the Celtics over the Mavericks in 6 games. I love the number 6 for some odd reason in these playoffs. I'm going to keep on riding it. It's been working with the Celtics. Celts in 6, Panthers in 6. So what do you got specifically, Isaiah? And like I said, for those that are out there, thank you guys for watching. I plan to hopefully have a show later on this week, if not later on this week. Probably like earlier, like next week. I'm going to try to maybe have one after one of the NBA Finals games. I know that me and Isaiah have been kind of doing Instagram lives here and there. So if you guys want to take a look at those, by all means, go ahead with those. And so we'll still be having those, doing a lot of that stuff, especially the finals and stuff. We're definitely going to keep you guys in tune as well as some other stuff involved. That's been a lot of sports involved. We're definitely going to keep you guys definitely interested and definitely keep you guys updated for sure. All right, Isaiah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. My final thoughts is great show tonight. Appreciate you for having me, Ben, and appreciate all the viewers for tuning in, especially James. I know James is starting a new job, so that's why he couldn't be on tonight. So James, good luck at the new place that you're starting at. I would say this: my NBA or let's start out in the NHL. My NHL pick is first of all, I'm so happy for Connor McDavid because he would have gotten killed had the Oilers lost game 4 and lost the series to the Stars. Because I was saying like after they lost game 3, Connor McDavid's gotta put the team on his back. You're down 2-1, and then what happens? They're down 2-0 right off the bat, and I'm like, oh crap, dude. Connor McDavid and the Oilers were staring down the barrel of a gun, and I was like, oh crap, he's gonna get killed if he loses this, and he's gonna be known as a proverbial choker. And he put the team on his back and ended up winning them the series. I mean, first goal right off the bat tonight by him. Just an amazing game by the Oilers. The Stars did have a chance late, but they just couldn't get the puck into the net. But yeah, so shout out to the Oilers. What a game, what a win. I'm gonna go Oilers in 7, actually. I think it's gonna be a classic. I think that this is truly Connor. Yeah, I think that this is truly Connor McDavid's year where he was once, everybody's talking about him as like the great one, like the next great hockey player. And if he wants to be that, he's got to at least win a cup, to be in that conversation. So I think he finally gets it done. I think he's, established himself as the true face of the National Hockey League now. And in terms of the NBA prediction, Ben, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go Mavericks in 7. I think it's going to be a great series, but I can't go against Luka and Kyrie. Like, they're amazing. They're like Tatum and Brown are great, but Luka and Kyrie are just like LeBron and Kyrie from 2016, and I think you're going to see some superhuman efforts in this series from both of those two. And I know like the Celtics have a better team, but I can't bet against Luka and Kyrie. Like I've gotten been like so many times this this postseason. So I'm gonna go with the Mavericks in 7 in a classic series game. Just imagine this, man. Kyrie going back to Boston, Game 7, trying to beat the Celtics and take that championship for them, while Tatum and Brown goes and tries to snap that drought. I mean, it would be. You thought Cleveland Golden State 2016 Father's Day Game 7 was amazing. Boston Dallas Game 7 at the Garden. Oh my God, that would be a game for the ages for sure. So it's tough because I could see Boston winning, but I could also see Dallas winning as well. So
they've been a good road team in the playoffs as well too. So like they're just not afraid of this moment. So yeah, I have us in 6, but like you said, this series is going to go deep. I don't think anybody here thinks otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I don't think it's going to be a sweep, regardless of either way. I think it's going to be, like a typical series. It's going to be very up and down. And I would hate, because obviously people are saying the narratives like, imagine if Kyrie or Luka goes down or whatever. Like no, like you play who you play, and obviously. This is going to be the finals. And for the Celtics, there is no excuse. No excuse specifically. You're the better team specifically. Because Isaiah, I know that you've obviously been talking about a lot of teams that are going to do a lot of moves this offseason, which of course is going to happen. But you don't get many chances to get here. Essentially, when you get to this certain situation, especially with the team that you have, the last thing you're going to want to have specifically is you fall short for the second straight time with Luka. With Jason and Jalen and their second finals and falling up short specifically with this team overall better than the team that they had before, and you still just can't go over the hump. So this is just a massive thing more for the Celtics. Not saying it's not for the Mavericks, but this is a massive thing for the Celtics because they've been here. It's just all about getting over the hump. And until proven otherwise, there's so many other people that are not Celtics fans out there. They're just not going to trust them specifically to finish the job until otherwise. As great as the team has been, so this overall, and I feel like a broken record. Saying it's kind of with your Niners right in a way in terms of the Super Bowl. Like the Celtics are like right there, like legitimately they're right there. It's all about specifically just getting over the hump. And I was saying this, I think, when you were on the air currently at the moment in time, I said that the Celtics, as much as more people want to talk about, of course, the guys getting over here and there, I understand that specifically. But especially in the Pacers series where they're on 3 of the games in the fourth quarter and they had to come back. That shows character, and that shows to me specifically that a team like that in the last couple of years, they didn't do that. They never came back from these type of deficits. They never essentially were able to close games out. And I understand the Mavericks have better closers, so I don't think that the Celtics should be in that certain situation like they were against the Pacers, but they at least show me that they can beat you in different ways, and that shows you a championship team right there. So that's why I had the Celtics winning in 6.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be like an amazing series, like you said. Also, Kyrie and Luke, if this was like a guy that had never been there, I could be like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm going to go, I think that he's going to choke it away. But Kyrie Irving's won a championship. Kyrie Irving's not afraid to go into any arena and to close things out. So I don't know. I can see both sides.
Remember with their stacked roster that they had down. He obviously made that big 3 in Game 7. Like you said, 100% agree.
He's not afraid. Like he's taken big shots and made them in his career. So I think we're in for an amazing series. I hope Kyrie and Luka, both of them, don't get hurt because we would be robbed of what I think would be an amazing series. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait for Thursday, man. It's gonna be the start of something great. And then here's the thing: after the finals, you think the NBA's done? No, because the draft is typically when you have all these bombshell trades, especially like regarding draft picks that go down. So we soon could learn where Donovan Mitchell is going. We soon could learn where Trae Young is going. We soon could learn if Zach LaVine is getting traded. I mean, you could see so much freaking movement this year in the NBA. I think the Celtics actually before the draft, they actually traded Porzingis or traded for Porzingis. So
Mhm.
last year, and I think that's when the Chris Paul trade went down. So I think
Yeah.
that you're going to see a lot of movement this year. I cannot wait for it. Like I said, I can't wait to see what the Lakers do coaching wise, and also
Mm.
what they do in terms of free agency and trade. So I'm looking forward to it. And plus, end of June, I'm gonna be going to Vegas, and I still cannot believe I'm actually gonna be
Oh
doing
man.
this. I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna be attending the NHL draft.
All right.
Um, yeah, I literally only know one player, and that's about it. So,
Right.
um, what's crazy about this draft, Ben, is like normally like every year during the draft you have a red carpet, right, where the fans
Right.
can go, the players walk onto the red carpet, and then before they go in, they take pictures. Like fans can get pictures with them, and this and that. I feel so bad for the players because, like, imagine this is in Vegas. Like, I understand if
Mm.
it's in Nashville or whatever. This is in Vegas. It's gonna be outside. It's gonna be 100-degree heat. You're walking around in the heat and the humidity with a suit on, taking pictures with fans. Like, if you haven't been to Vegas, like in the summer, you step out for like 5 minutes, you go back in, your whole shirt is drenched in sweat.
Mm.
Like now you put on a suit and tie and you're out there for like, dude, this is such a, oh my god. Like I wonder like where if they're even gonna be doing the red carpet this year because like
Mm.
honestly you can see players passing out because of that heat because that's how hot it's gonna be. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to go. I can't wait to experience that environment. Hopefully the Sharks don't pull the biggest, dumbest mistake in history of the NHL and use the number one pick on someone else. That would be awful. And if they do that, I can guarantee you I would be live from the Sphere in Vegas, and immediately after the pick, ripping the heck out of the Sharks if they draft someone other than Celebrini. If they end up doing that, so if they do, then you'll see that. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to go to that. Ben, this is crazy because literally 3 days after that event, on July the 2nd, Caitlin Clark and the Fever are going to be in town in Vegas. And then you think about that being a crazy weekend. Conor McGregor makes his return to the UFC on Saturday after the draft. So it's like, dude, I could be
Oh,
in Vegas for literally Caitlin Clark, McGregor, and freaking
oh my
Macklin
god.
Celebrini. It's amazing, dude.
That'd be crazy. Yeah. Yeah, Caitlin Clark is, I think, playing again at Mohegan Sun in my town, and I might try to look at going to that. So, I know that her first game ever WNBA was in Connecticut, but it looks like she's gonna be playing there again. So, I might consider. I'm not sure.
Well, one last thing I got to add before I give it back to you is about Caitlin Clark. I don't know if you guys saw that play on Saturday. That was a Bush League play. Like that was awful. Like that lady, Kennedy Carter, I think that's her name. Like I think she should be thrown out of the league because that was not a basketball play whatsoever. I mean, you're looking at it like Clark is just trying to, I think, get the rebound, or she's looking up at the roof. And then all of a sudden, this girl out of nowhere takes one look at her, sees she's looking in a different direction, and then she just randomly goes and just shoves her to the ground. Like that was not a basketball player whatsoever. She clearly had an intent to injure Caitlin Clark. And Ben, I know this is sad, but I think the WNBA, they got to do something because for some reason this year we've seen, ever since Clark has entered the league, you've seen jealousy from a lot of these other players like the vets, and you've seen like them like do a lot of like a lot of just over the top type of stuff to try to get her injured. Like you've seen like Bush League plays like that. You've seen there was one time where they were apparently trying to box out and get a rebound, and you could see one of the players on the opposing teams go for her legs. Like that's not a basketball play. And then you see another one where I know Brianna Stewart didn't mean it, but like that was a hard screen. I mean, you've seen a lot of like rip screens in the past. Like you never see something like hard like that. So could have easily broken her nose. So I would say that I think the WNBA, they got to put their foot down and stop this. Like I honestly would not be shocked, Ben, if like there's a bounty system for her right now because of how much jealousy. Like you just see it. Like there's just a lot of BS Bush League stuff that's going on, and they got to put their foot down and do something. Like or she's gonna get seriously hurt.
No, I 100% agree for sure on that. So, all right, that'll be it for tonight. Like I said, make sure guys to follow Kicking with Kruse if you guys like the show and just shows in general on YouTube, on Twitter. Like I said, my Facebook currently with the IM6 is kind of up and down right now, so keep in tune for that. But also with that, if that is working, I'll just put that stuff there on YouTube. I know on Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube of course as well. Isaiah, obviously, the Sports Weekly stuff, definitely get some, probably doing a batter up pretty soon. So all those definitely shows on the network as well. Make sure to tune into that. Looks like, Isaiah, you have something else to say really quick.
Yeah, we may be doing believe it or not, and I don't know if how my phone's gonna be during this, but we may be doing a live draft show from the NHL draft for Face Off. So we may be doing it. I don't know. It depends on how the connection is there in the Sphere in Vegas. But yeah, I might be able to react live from Vegas to some of those picks as they come in.
Well, that'd be pretty cool. I will be going to the Tom Brady ceremony at Gillette Stadium for his Hall of Fame in 10 days. So that'll be one of my favorite things, and I'll be looking forward to for that. I'll make sure to put some stuff on this network and some live reactions on that stuff as well. So that for ado, guys, thank you for joining alongside Isaiah here. This has been Kruse. You guys have a great rest of your evening and to finish off this great weekend. Hope you guys have a great rest this week. We got a lot of stuff in sports to look ahead of. And with that being said, guys, we will see you guys next time on Kicking with Kruse. Until next time, have a great night.
Oh my God! Big goal to go from the two. Toss sweep one for James White. Puts it under the right arm. Puts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots! I can't believe it! Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hitting to right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.